You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
The following podcast is under review.
After reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. We're going to go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special installment of the Under Review podcast right here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network, your February 24th, 2020 edition. This is your NHL Trade Deadline all-day special for you. Your source for North American sports coverage by sports fans, for sports fans, delivered to you right here from the Niagara region. You follow the podcast on Twitter at Armchair GM Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ArmchairGMsNetwork. Listen to us live on the Spreaker.com or the Spreaker app right now by searching up the Armchair GMs. As well, we're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Stitcher Radio. So wherever it's most convenient for you to listen to us, we're on all those different platforms for you, except for today we are only live on Spreaker.com or the Spreaker app. And as always, I'm one of your hosts of the Under Review podcast, Cappy. You can follow me on Twitter at Capoots13 with a Canadian Z. And I'm very pleased to be joined today by my special co-host. He is the natural born heel and beer league attendee and diehard sheep of the Nashville Predators, my good friend Tyler from Tennessee. You can follow him on Twitter at Tyler_Jones_22, if I'm correct.
No underscore between Tyler and Jones, but close enough.
Okay, Tyler Jones_22. That's where you can follow him. Or you can choose not to follow him. It's up to you.
That's probably a good idea not to.
If it's up to him, probably not. Regardless, guys, Ty and myself are going to be with you guys all day here for the NHL Trade Deadline Day special. We're going to be breaking all the... we're not breaking ourselves, but we will be announcing all of the trades that go down today. We've missed a few before we went on the air this morning, which is ironic because last year when we did the show, we didn't have a trade until probably 11:30 or 12 o'clock. So the fact that there's even been early trades this year, of course, we didn't start recording till 11 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Eastern time. So it's of course that they have to break trades and already get our show off and running here. To fill time, we're also going to recap the trades that have already happened leading up to the deadline, ones that happened late last night as well. We're going to go over all the teams that we can with their cap situations, their prospect and asset pool, upcoming free agents, UFAs, RFAs, and buying, selling options, and playoff outlook for certain teams if they're in that position. And then later in the show, around probably 4:45, if there are any OHL prospects traded, we will have a guest appearance by Colin Ward of the 0-60 OHL podcast to discuss any movement of OHL talent. So if we have any of that, we will have Colin on later in the show. But regardless, guys, we're going to split it into two parts today, going from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Eastern time today, then take a little short break, and we'll be back from 2:30 to hopefully around 5 or 5:30 to recap the day for you guys. So with that being said, Ty, where do you want to start? Because we've already had some trades early this morning.
We can start by something that literally just got announced about 30 seconds ago. Patrick Marlowe is headed to the Pittsburgh Penguins, pending a trade call. He's going to be going for the cup there. Pittsburgh has been pretty known for the last couple months about trying to, especially over the last few years, doing some stuff at the deadline to try to make the team better, trying to get better. Adding Marlowe, a top winger like that with a lot of skill, a lot of class, a lot of, he's still got the speed for a 40-year-old. I think he's going to do pretty well in Pittsburgh. Still don't know what's coming back the other way. That has not been announced yet from what I am reading, so we will get back with you on that.
Okay, so I got to play the intro breaking news for this one. Patrick Marleau has been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And it looks like now, as I just refreshed my stuff here. It is a 2021 third.
Okay.
So it's not even this year's third-round pick.
Well, I guess if you're San Jose, you'll take whatever you can get for Patrick Marleau at this point in his career, is my thing about that. And, I mean, the Sharks, for the first time probably in 2 decades, are deciding to go the selling route, and they need to do it because of all the key injuries that they've had and the fact that they don't own their own first-round pick, thanks to Erik Karlsson's trade last year. So recouping assets for the San Jose Sharks is a key today, and even with the earlier trade that they've made, it looks like Joe Thornton will be the next one gone, and as sad as it will be for Sharks fans to see Joe Thornton gone. I mean, realistically, this is going to be his last year, so he's going to have one last shot at having an opportunity at winning a Stanley Cup that has eluded him his entire career. So as much as I'd hate to see it, it's the reality, and I would love to see Thornton go out with a Stanley Cup. So if the Sharks can make that scenario happen, I'm all for it.
And then you don't have to do the breaking stuff for this. Out of Nashville, obviously where I'm based, some breaking news. It looks like Rocco Grimaldi has been taken off the trade market. He's been signed to an extension, 2 years, $4 million.
Ooh, so I know you and I talk about Rocco Grimaldi a lot, and how valuable he has been to that Nashville Predators team. Just talk about what he brings to the Predators lineup and how valuable you think he is to keep around for 2 more years.
I really like the deal. $2 million for a guy who can jump from second to fourth line. It's not bad at all. Somebody that came out of nowhere, he drafted in I believe it was the 3rd round. Could have been 2nd round, but I believe it was the 3rd round. Not by us. I think it was Florida. Could be wrong on that too, though. Colorado, and then it was Florida.
He played for both those teams, regardless.
Yeah. And but since we've got him, he's just been extremely impressive for somebody that small to throw his body around the way he does and to go out and play as hard as he does. A lot of people like to say he's Victor Arvidsson 2.0, maybe not even 2.0, but just another Victor Arvidsson. Which this year, the way Arvidsson's been playing, I'd rather have Rocco Grimaldi. He's just he plays so hard all the time. The kid has a motor that's unbelievable, and I don't think that really anybody on the team this year puts in as much effort as he does, which is why I think it's good to reward somebody like that. He's got 30 points, definitely an overachievement for somebody like that, who everybody thought was basically going to be an AHL player. So pretty excited about it. I like the prospects of Rocco for a couple more years, and I think he'll be a good 3rd-line talent.
I think he's definitely carving himself a role on the Nashville Predators team, and has actually been one of their more consistent forwards throughout the year, shockingly enough, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to say about guys like Ryan Johansson.
It could be a good thing. This year it's not. I mean, it's good for him. For the team, it's not good that he's one of the more consistent players considering the roster that we have. But we'll probably get into that later.
Yes, we will. So with that being said, Ty, we just broke that trade, so we might as well talk about let's talk about the trade that happened late last night. So we had the Edmonton Oilers and the Detroit Red Wings making a trade, which is no shock there, as Steve Yzerman and Ken Holland, the great relationship they have, making a trade here. The Edmonton Oilers acquiring veteran defenseman Mike Green from the Detroit Red Wings for Kyle Brodziak and a conditional 2020 or 2021 draft pick. And I believe the conditions on this have there's some certain conditions on this that revolve around Edmonton making the playoffs and or making it to the 2nd round, or Mike Green playing 50% of the game. So if he doesn't get hurt, I believe it's a 4th round pick that can become a 3rd. Ty, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I don't know what happened there with my mic.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there's some conditions on this. There's conditions on this Mike Green trade.
Yeah, it seems like you're going to hear conditional a lot today. That's just a new thing. I think basketball has kind of brought that out with the whole protected top 3, top 5, top 8, whatever picks they have in their first round. I think it's kind of bled over into hockey the last few years, these conditional picks. I don't know what to think about it sometimes. I think it's kind of, whatever. in that situation, if it's a 4th-round pick, not a big deal in my eyes. Kyle Brodziak, that had to have been a throw-in or some kind of money thing. I don't see why Detroit would even want Kyle Brodziak. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But getting the pick for Mike Green, who is basically a player who, let's face it, on Detroit was wasting away anyway, as if he wasn't already kind of before. But good trade for Detroit. Detroit's got to get as much assets as they can, obviously. You'll probably hear their name a lot today if they decide to really ship some stuff out. I mean, obviously, Andreas Athanasiou's name's been linked out there. I don't know why they'd want to trade him. But his name's been linked out there. Few of their D-men. So there'll be a team to be looking out for today, too, obviously, with them being the only team, actually, I'm pretty sure right now, with mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. So,
yes, whatever assets they can get for some of their players, I'm sure they'd be thrilled. I'm sure with their huge minuses out there, looking like they're ready for the Masters tournament upcoming. But with leading the way is Andreas Athanasiou, who I believe is at minus 43 for the season. So whoever gets him, hopefully his plus-minus will improve for a playoff contender. The other trade we had early this morning at 9:40 was the Ottawa...
you forgot the other one last night, man. You forgot... Actually, I guess it was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But it would have been the Ilya Kovalchuk deal?
Yeah, Kovalchuk to the Montreal... or from the Montreal Canadiens to the Washington Capitals for a 2020 third-round pick. And it's pretty interesting considering that the Habs picked up Kovalchuk for basically free after the Kings had bought out his contract, and they sent him to a bare minimum deal. And he was actually playing pretty well with Montreal. It seemed like the fan base there really embraced him and loved him.
I was going to say, playing so well that to the point where they were talking about keeping him, and I'm sitting here going, you got him for free. He's playing well. You trade him now. You get whatever you can. Trade him now.
Yep. It's unfortunate.
And they did.
He looks like a pretty good piece for Montreal. He's playing well, but considering where Montreal is taking a huge nosedive as of late, I don't blame them for getting something for a guy they got for free. I mean, I'm sure you can appreciate that wheeling and dealing right there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Obviously, me being a imaginary wheeler and dealer, of course, that's a big thing right there. Obviously, Kovalchuk, I think Washington could actually turn out to be really, really good, especially the way he's been playing. We'll see how much it clicks there. But I'd say with the heavily Russian and European influence on that team, especially with Ovi being there, that's somebody he can grasp and really help and talk to and do things with. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. But I personally think it'll be a good situation for both team and player.
Yeah, and people were saying, "Oh, are you going to put Ovi and Kovalchuk on the same power play?" Well, they both shoot right-handed, so I can't see they can't both play the point.
It's possible because most of the time Ovi plays the point. So it really wouldn't be that big of a deal to throw Kovalchuk the right side on the right side or the left side so that he can have the right-handed shot on the lower circle or lower below the circle in the slot, and then have Ovi at the top and at the circle his dot, where he usually scores all those goals.
Yeah. Problem is they're both goal scorers. They both want the puck. So
well, that's why they have two power play lines usually, boys.
Yep. Well, we don't know what that's like in Buffalo. The second one doesn't usually score. But, yeah, I mean, that definitely brings another threat to the Washington Capitals, who are primed and ready for another deep Stanley Cup playoff run, which is something that Kovalchuk has never experienced in his career besides the 1 year with New Jersey. So I think it's a nice spot for him. I think he liked Montreal. He probably wanted to remain there, but with the situation they're in, they look like they're nosediving out of the playoff race here. So great pickup for Washington, I think, and great value for Montreal for getting a third-round pick for a guy that wasn't even on their roster 2 months ago. So that's my feeling on that. We had this minor trade 2 days ago involving your Nashville Predators, who acquired Ben Harpur from the Toronto Maple Leafs for Mika Salomaki. So,
yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about Ben Harpur. Your neck of the woods probably knows a little more about him. But Mika Salomaki's a hard winger, hardworking. We had too many Mika Salomaki type guys, so one of those kind of pieces we can afford to get rid of. And he's apparently a big defenseman, and the way it looks like Jared Tenorti is going to stay up in Nashville for the rest of the year, so they need another big defenseman in Milwaukee. So I think that's really what it was for, more than anything.
Yep. One team needed D depth, one team needed forward depth, I guess, in the AHL. So that was basically what that was.
Well, I think Toronto, too, was trying to get some pieces that could play in the NHL for cheap in case they need to. Obviously, Toronto's in a very odd situation, as you and a lot of people up in Canada know. Being the team who's supposed to be going to the Cup final, basically, the way everybody kept talking, and they're on the outs of the playoffs right now. So it's an interesting situation to be in, and they could be looking. They can't, and if they do, I have a feeling the little 10-year-old that's running the team is going to be out. So, but I mean, it's a situation where I think they're trying to get some lower end forwards because I think their forward core is there's so much money in that forward core that they're going to have to get rid of some guys, and they're going to have some guys to replace them because they're going to need some D. So I think this could be a situation where they're getting Salamacky, who has NHL experience, played probably 2 years basically for us on the third or fourth lines usually. So I mean, he's a guy who knows he can play penalty kill. He can throw the body a little bit. He's kind of more of I wouldn't even say a grinder. I guess a modern grinder where they throw their body around, but it's not necessarily goonish.
Yep. So I think it's a nice move there for both teams. The Leafs, obviously, like you said, trying to acquire some lower end forward depth that is cheap in case they have to ship out one of these current NHL forwards that they have up on their roster right now. Next, we had the trade from the 21st, so 3 days ago, between the Vegas Golden Knights and Winnipeg Jets. We had Cody Eakin being traded for a 4th-round pick, conditional. And I like Cody Eakin. I think he's a solid 3rd to 4th line center that can play. He can even go up and down the lineup if you need him to. He's always been a reliable player for Dallas and Vegas for the 2 years that he's been there. I like the move for Winnipeg, especially if this move is going to mean that they're going to be shipping out a forward today for some D help. I think Cody Eakin definitely could fill a void that they might have after today by trading away one of the forwards off their roster.
Certainly could. Cody Eakin hasn't necessarily had the greatest season this year, but hopefully being traded, he's a Winnipeg native, so hopefully being traded to a hometown team, he possibly gets a situation where he can flourish and do better. Man scored 20 goals, 2-3 years ago? So, I mean, he has the capability to be a more of a third-line player. Right now, in his career, I'd say he's definitely more of a 4th-line center type guy. Problem is with that, he makes a lot of money for a 4th-line player. Very Paul Gossadish, that reminds me of. And so it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Winnipeg's in a weird situation, too. That's another team who was supposed to be just, so good, and they have not been good at all. It almost makes me wonder, they signed Kyle Connor to that long-term extension, but it almost makes me wonder if they're not going to try to maneuver some people around, because it's pretty obvious that stuff's not working there, especially with the whole Dustin Byfuglien situation, too, which we still don't know what the hell's going on with that, but...
No, and they were able to get the cap relief for Dustin Byfuglien, at least for now. Moving him,
which is, I think, why they were able to acquire Cody Eakin, because I think he makes $3.75 or close to. I mean, it's a high dollar salary. This is when those 4th liners were getting the big bucks there for those couple of years, and that may be the only reason they were able to get Cody Eakin. So,
yep. Before we continue with the trades here, we have some breaking news here that I'm going to break. According to TSN's Darren Dreger, the expectation is that Chris Kreider will extend with the New York Rangers today.
Well, that's pretty funny because before we even got on here, one of our cohorts and insiders, if you could say, in New York, said that the Rangers were going to hold a press conference around, what time did he say it was?
11:10, so I guess it just
it's right now. So, and I said, I bet you, because you said something about maybe it being about Lundqvist, and I said, I bet it's about Kreider resigning. And look at that.
Yep. So there you have it. Apparently, Chris Kreider will remain a New York Ranger, and I have mixed feelings about this. I mean, if Kreider really wanted to remain a Ranger, he could have just come back in the summer, and he could have helped the Rangers get a lot of assets for him. He was going to be the top trade piece on the board today. The only thing that I can see is that it involved the 8th year of the contract, as you can only sign a free agent that you don't currently own to a 7-year contract. If he's on your team, you can sign him to an 8-year contract. So that's really the only reason that I can see it happening, is that Kreider wanted the extra year on his contract. But I don't know.
And you say that about, because that situation rarely works. The whole trade away, come back in the offseason, because you worry as a GM, and I've heard this from a lot of GMs, you worry you do that, you trade them to somebody, they like it so much more, or not even so much more, they just like it so much, they just decide they want to stay, or they decide, you know what, maybe I should look around, maybe the world is a little green, the grass is a little greener outside of, where I'm at right now, or where I was. So you're always taking a risk in doing that. And Chris Kreider is a good player. He's a solid, I would say he's more of a second line player, but he could certainly play first line on many teams. Yours.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You would love Chris Kreider. You know it.
Oh yeah, he'd be great. They put him at second line center, which he's not.
He plays center too.
No, he doesn't. That's the thing. They put him at
center.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine. But it's that's a tricky situation, I feel like, to be a part in. So and in some ways this is probably a good deal for New York, making sure they keep a veteran guy, because that is a young team. New York has got one of the best. I think they're actually ranked right now first in the prospect list. So they're a team that's going to be full of youth, full of excitement, and they're going to need some veteran presence. So Chris Kreider is going to be a huge proponent and a huge guy to lead a team of Capo Cacos and Adam Foxes and all these guys who are coming up through the system. So I think it's probably a good thing for them. I think they really wanted to sign him, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, could you trade him and get a first-round pick, second-round pick, third-round pick? Probably. Yeah, probably. But, do you risk doing that and then not having that veteran leadership and that hopeful piece to all that youth to maybe put the youth over the edge and do some great things with that? So in that situation, I don't think the Rangers are in a bad spot.
Yeah, so it's a 7-year extension for Chris Kreider. And again, he's not even that old yet. He's only 27 years old. I mean, he's a veteran, but he's not even that old yet. It's not like he's an
that's what I mean. He's 27
dinosaur
now, but in 2 years he's going to be 29, 30, and that's going to be your peak in terms of you're hitting your prime, your stride right now. So that's right then you're going to be right in the middle of it. So they're hoping that the rookies can catch some fire, he can help them, and that'll be a big deal for New York.
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing.
And you said it was 7 years?
Yep. 7-year extension announced by John Davidson at the Rangers press conference. As we continue down here, I'm sure we'll circle back to Kreider at some point today, probably to discuss the money and everything. Let's quickly go over this trade. That was another significant trade. Nice trade by the Boston Bruins with the Anaheim Ducks. The Bruins acquired Ondrej Kase from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a first-round pick this year, Axel Anderson, a prospect of theirs, and David Backes, which was a great salary dump for the Bruins to give to Anaheim in that trade. And they give up a first-round pick for Kase, but you also have to take into account that they're giving away the $5.6 million of David Backes' contract. I know they retained a little bit of that, but still to get Backes off their books and to get a player like Kase, who still has a lot of potential and upside, I think, as a possible second-line right winger, and playing with somebody like Krejci on Boston with that loaded top line, I think is definitely something that the Bruins needed to address, and they went out and got a guy that could be at least a top 9 forward, if not develop properly into a top 6 forward for them.
Yeah, I thought it was an incredible deal, considering now Ondrej Kase is an injury-prone player. He's more of a dainty, more of a smaller kind of guy. He does get hurt a lot. But when you look at what Boston gave up, they gave up basically that pick won't be lower than 24, 5. That to give up at that late a pick, and then Axel Anderson, who's 9th or 10th on their prospect list, which is one of the worst prospect ranks in the league. I think they're 27th last time I was looking. That's not a whole lot to give up to get a player that can possibly, still put in 20, 30 goals, 60-point possible guy, and then to dump Backes on top of it. I really thought that was a great trade. At first, I was kind of because I'm kind of high on Axel Anderson. I think he's a pretty good little player. But to dump that salary and to only give up that little, which in my opinion, the ways Boston's drafted in the first round over the past few years, is probably a good thing to get rid of your first.
Shots
Our
fired.
boy Ragu's going to love that.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it was a really great trade. I really did.
And I think good on Anaheim, too, because, realistically, they're going to be sellers this year and possibly next year as well. So Backes on their books really doesn't matter for them. If anything, he might help. He actually fits the Anaheim Duck mold pretty well with the style that they like to play. So I
don't know if he's really going to play. That's going to be interesting. I don't know if he's, like I said, I don't know if he's going to play. My thing is, from Anaheim's perspective, that I don't know about. Yeah, you're getting a pretty good little, prospect defenseman. You're getting a first. Kasha was a play. And I know you're rebuilding, and I get that. But Kasha's young. What is he? 24, 25?
He's a very good young player, and his point per game stats have been pretty good, and his shots per game is actually very high up in the league as far as how many shot attempts he has per game. That guy just rifles shots.
Right, and I know that it's not been great for Anaheim in terms of him being so injury prone. But he's 24. Maybe he learns more ways to protect himself. NHL, again, he's a European, and those guys take a while. They're used to open ice, not as many hits, not taking that big of a brutality and physicalness as some of these American and Canadian guys are used to. But it may just take a few years for him to build up some durability, and to give up on somebody with that much potential, who, for Anaheim especially, could have been a hell of a first-line winger you could have turned him into. So to me, it's a little bit early to give up on somebody like that. But to get a first and basically another first-round pick with Axel Anderson being, I think he was early second, but still a pretty good prospect. Taking that, obviously, like you said, taking that salary is not going to mean anything for them because they're not going to be they're not going to be a very big free agent destination for the next couple of years, I have a feeling.
Yeah, so again, I think it's a really good acquisition by the Bruins for a guy that still has a very high ceiling, but I think the Ducks did an okay job getting a return for him. At this point, they're mostly just trying to stockpile draft picks, and Axel Anderson's another nice little piece for them to get. Backes' contract doesn't matter, so it's a hockey trade that I actually like from both sides. I definitely like it more from Boston's side, but I don't hate it from Anaheim's side either.
So apparently, too, this was in the press conference as well. This is not a trade or anything like that. This was also in that Rangers press conference, though. President John Davidson says Pavel Buchnevich and Igor Shesterkin were injured in a car accident. Buchnevich is now day-to-day, and Shesterkin has non-displaced rib injury and will be reevaluated in a few weeks.
Well, so does that mean Henrik Lundqvist is off the table?
I'm guessing.
That is really unfortunate for the Rangers, as they really love Igor. He's been playing great since he was called up, and it looked like their price on Georgiev was way too high, so it looked like they were ready to run with Igor and Georgiev tandem there. Now with this unfortunate car accident coming out of nowhere, they got T-boned apparently. It looks like they might have I would still trade Lundqvist. The Rangers aren't making the playoffs, so if Henrik Lundqvist really requested a trade that is being reported, you got to give Lundqvist a chance at the Cup, especially if it's going to be his last year. I would love to see Lundqvist have one more shot at it. He's had lots of chances with the Rangers over the years, hasn't been able to get it. I know it's hard for Rangers fans as he's like a god for the Rangers. His jersey will be retired one day. But I could see it like a Ray Bourque type situation, his final year going somewhere. And who would not love to see Henrik Lundqvist lift the Stanley Cup?
No disagreement there. Here's the problem. Who has the cap space and the need, who's a playoff team, for Henrik Lundqvist? I don't think there's anybody. Unless New York wants to eat salary, and I don't think they're going to want to do that. And probably have to give up something else, too, on top of it, to a team, to a playoff team that needs a goalie. I don't see many playoff teams needing a goalie. And unless Hank wants to be a backup for somebody, maybe, but I don't see that happening either.
Well, I mean, if he wants to win a cup, he might just have to do whatever. He might
I'm
just
not
have to
disagreeing,
be a backup.
But unless, see, that's the thing. There's not really been any goalie injuries or anything like that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him going to a team like Colorado. I think Colorado would be a nice fit for him, giving them some stability there on the back end. I know they have Grubauer, but he's been in and out of the lineup this year. He's been injury prone. Pavel Francouz has been playing a lot as of late, but I think Henrik Lundqvist in front of a team like Colorado, I think that could definitely be a really nice fit for Lundqvist. Regardless, let's continue on here with, we actually have the details on the Crider contract. Kreider is going to be making $7.5 million, 7 years, $6.5 million per. So 6.5 for Kreider is the AAV on his contract.
What's the AAV? I'm sorry.
6.5 for Kreider.
That's not bad at all.
No, I think he definitely took a hometown discount there. So I don't blame the Rangers for re-signing him then if it's going to be that cheap, as opposed to letting him hit the open market and paying upwards of $9 or $10 million for a player like him, which it's not worth that type of money. But we see the amount of bad money that gets thrown around on free agent frenzy with the top end talents, and I think Kreider for that price, I would take that any day of the week. I'd be ecstatic if I was a Rangers fan right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I see a minor trade, but I don't even know if this is real yet, so I'm not even going to report it. Something involving the Leafs. It looks. I don't even know if this is a real account or not, but well, I guess it is. So it's got. I made sure it was the real Leafs Twitter account, 1.9 million followers. So yeah, it is the real account, and you're not getting a intro breaking news. You're getting one of these. The Toronto Maple Leafs have reacquired defenseman Calle Rosen from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for goaltender Michael Hutchinson.
Wow, that's huge.
That is the biggest trade we've heard all day.
Well, here's another huge trade. Anaheim, you don't need the breaking news for this one either. Anaheim working on a deal to send Derek Grant to Philadelphia for Kyle Kraskulo and a fourth. When in this earth has Derek Grant been worth a fourth-round pick? Somebody want to explain? Somebody out there, explain that to me.
What's wrong?
See,
you
this
don't
is
like Derek Grant.
This is why I thought yesterday, and I told you, and this is why we're both this morning. We were shocked how many trades were coming out. Now, granted, it hadn't been a whole lot, but for a trade deadline day, it's been a lot. I did not think that. I thought today was going to be quiet as a church mouse. After seeing the prices for Blake Coleman and all these other guys, I'm like, ain't no way these GMs who are tight-fisted and tight-pocketed are going to give up the type of picks and stuff for all these guys. But it is happening. Now, granted, some of these guys are getting, 4th and 5th round picks, and that's not a big deal. Like Vladislav Nemesnikov, we haven't talked about that yet, For a 4th-round pick, I was like, that's not a bad deal. And it was a 2021 at that. So it's interesting how much is happening when I totally didn't think any of this was going to go down. I did not see it happening.
Well, granted, pun intended there, Derek Grant, who has obviously he's on a 1-year deal here, $700,000 he's making, 29 years old, for the Anaheim Ducks, and he's going over to the Flyers. So the Flyers have made 2 depth moves today, acquiring.
And of course, I just got a text. Apparently, Grant has double-digit goals this year. How? How? I mean, what is he fucking? Excuse me. Is he playing second line on Anaheim? Are they that bad?
I mean,
I didn't think
Anaheim
they were that bad.
I mean, Anaheim is pretty bad.
Oh God, to have a 4th-line guy have double-digit goals like that? Oh gosh.
Well,
oh, gosh.
I mean, they.
And what is Philly thinking? Are they in the playoffs? I honestly have not kept a look at that division. Obviously, me being a Western guy, I just have not even paid attention to anything Philadelphia. I'll be completely honest with you.
Philly's definitely in the hunt right now.
What are 4th-line guys going to help you with?
Right now, Derek Grant, they already took him off the lineup, so I can't even look at where he was playing. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
he had 14 goals. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
That would be like 4th on Nashville. Probably 3rd. That says more about Nashville than it does about Derek Grant, but still.
You're really hating on this Derek Grant trade.
Well, we had Derek Grant a few years ago, and a nice little 4th-line center, but 14 goals. I never saw that happening. Never, and I think we traded him or got him for like a 6th. So I think from you guys, actually.
Yeah, Buffalo had him in the preseason and had him for a little bit, then decided to move on from him. Derek Grant right now, he's actually been averaging in the last 5 games. These are his. This is his ice time minutes: 14.5, 17.46,
what?
16.30, 13.37, and 16.39.
How on earth does Derek Grant get 17 minutes in a game?
In that game,
is Dallas Eakins still a coach in Anaheim too? What is he thinking?
Derek Grant actually scored a power play goal in that game and added an assist.
Oh, good Lord. Power play time too?
Derek Grant has 20 points in 49 games. What is going on
here?
14 goals.
This is some kind of like, what is it, the upside down world and Stranger Things or whatever it is?
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
We might have another trade coming in, but I just waiting here for it. Taking a look. What do we got?
Also, before that comes out, just to put some details on that Marlowe trade, it's a 2021 conditional 3rd, upgrades to a 2nd if Pittsburgh wins the Cup.
Okay. So, it's a possibility. You never know.
Well, with Pittsburgh, anything's possible.
Yep, so Patrick Marleau comes back for his swan song with the San Jose Sharks and now has a chance to go finally win a Stanley Cup. And still nothing on this trade, but it's rumored. It's close. It's not done yet, but it's close. So we'll have another one for you here coming up very shortly. But let's move on here from Derek Grant, and let's talk about. I'm trying to look through some other trades that recently happened that are worth talking about. Not gonna talk.
Well, I mean, I can give you the one that I thought was a big deal, actually. The Islanders acquired J.G. Pageau, the way it was talking, it sounded like he was going to re-sign with Ottawa, which I don't know why anybody would want to re-sign with Ottawa right now, but that was what was being thrown out there. But they traded him to the New York Islanders for a conditional 1st in 2020, a 2nd round in 2020, and a conditional 3rd in 2022. Kind of weird.
Yeah, that's a huge haul for John Gabriel Pageau, I think.
Well, and it's a huge haul, but when you think about it, he can play 2nd-line center. Now, I don't know about playing it on New York. Probably he could, but he could be a 2nd-line center on many different teams. So, I mean, it's a big haul, but when you think about it, Thomas Tatar was traded for a first, a second, and a third like a few years ago, and he's a second-line tops winger, so to me, it wasn't that bad of a haul to give up for New York, especially if they're really trying to go all in here. So it's not as – I don't think that first is really going to mean a whole lot, and then the second, the third, and 2022 really ain't going to mean anything.
I think it's
especially for Lou Lamoriello.
It definitely adds them some center depth. I mean, you look at their three centers now. It's Barzal, Brock Nelson, and Jean-Gabriel Pageau. That's a very strong center core there. We don't know if Pageau is going to play third-line center or if maybe they might move him up to the wing or move Nelson to the wing. Not sure, but it's a nice trade for the Islanders if they're obviously that serious about going in right now. And Pageau is at a career year with the Ottawa Senators. They could always re-sign him in the offseason, but like you said, that's always a risky thing to do, risky option. You go to another team and realize the grass might be greener on the other side, and especially coming from Ottawa, it definitely would probably look greener anywhere else.
And like I said, I can understand maybe if the owner situation was a little better, but the way things are going in Ottawa, I don't know why you would sign an extension for any more than a year. That situation is just hell, it sounds like right now. So I really wouldn't want to be a part of that, especially being in Ottawa. It's not the greatest place in the world to play. So
no, and so do we have conditions on those picks for?
I do not have the conditions on those. Let me see if I can find them though.
While you try to find that, I'll start talking about the other trade that we got, which was a very good bargain deal, in my opinion. Was a fourth-round pick from the Ottawa Senators who dealt another player. They received a fourth-round pick in 2021 for Vladislav Nemesnikov. Now, this is a guy that's been bounced around a little bit. Started off in Tampa Bay, went to the Rangers, ended up in Ottawa. He actually leads the NHL in shorthanded points. So Nemesnikov's a nice little ad for Colorado. He's had a nice little season for Ottawa. But I certainly like Nemesnikov as a bottom six forward on that Avs team, a winger that definitely gives them some depth. And Colorado, they're really good at acquiring these low end wingers that really haven't come up to their potential yet, and then having them flourish. They look at what they acquired Andrei Burakovsky. They brought in Valeri Nichushkin. They bring in Jonas Donskoy, who I guess was undervalued in San Jose for considering what they were using him in all different types of situations. So I really like Nemesnikov going to Colorado as a depth piece and somebody that they can definitely increase the value of for a fourth round pick. Not even for this year.
So I cannot find the conditions on those picks. I'm sure they'll come out later. That'd be my guess. But as of right now, I cannot find them.
What do you think about Nemesnikov for a fourth? I think that's really good value for Colorado.
Oh, I think it's a heck of a trade, especially because the fourth's in 2021. So, I mean, it's not even this year's draft. So you literally gave a fourth-round pick where you don't know where you're going to end up. So, and a fourth-round pick is basically where you start going to, whatever. The picks are just kind of blend together after that.
Yeah, and, it's kind of just risks at that point.
Yeah. So, I know I think it's a good trade. Obviously, Colorado needs some more depth. That's one of their big issues right now is they have a really good top six, and their bottom six are not necessarily the greatest in terms of being able to move up and down the lineup. So any kind of depth moves for them, I think it's a good addition. I think Colorado's a team that I wouldn't make too many big deals. I know the rumor's been out there about Carey Price. Maybe for a goalie like that, you might have to think about it. Other than that, I really wouldn't make too many big deals. I think they're right there. I think Pavel Francouz by next year will probably be a good enough goalie to probably take the starter job away from whoever it would have been anyway there. And
well, Grubauer has proven that he's a good starter, but the problem is he's been very injury prone this year.
Well, and I'm not saying that he can't start either, but if Pavel Francouz keeps it up, I think he'll be the guy to get it.
And especially getting a guy like Carey Price, he still has a lot of term on his deal. So I think I think making a trade for a guy like Lundqvist makes more sense because you can. I believe Francouz is still on his entry level deal where you can send him down to the AHL.
Yeah, I believe so.
and have Lundqvist there as the backup for now, and maybe the starter if Grubauer.
Grubauer's hurt.
Yeah, so who knows? But when he comes back, who knows how long before he goes back on the IR again? So I think picking up a guy like Lundqvist is a lot better of an option than giving up a huge haul and having that term left on that contract for Carey Price. As much as you'd like
shout out
to have Carey
shout out
Price.
to Ragu. He got me the conditions on that JG Pajot deal. The first is top 3 protected. Reverts to 2021 if it's in the top 3, and they only get the third if they win the cup.
Okay. I like the Derek Grant trade better.
So I'd say it's probably a first and a second, more than likely.
I don't know, man. I think Derek Grant is the move of the day.
Sure.
And lastly, the trades that have happened today, one that kind of grinds my gears a little bit is this Carolina Hurricanes acquiring center Vincent Trocheck from the Florida Panthers in exchange for Eric Haula-Chaboy, Lucas Wallmark, and prospects Chase Prisky and Eetu Lutsarainen. So say that 3 times fast. But initial thoughts of this trade are, as a Sabres fan, why wasn't Buffalo involved for this price? I mean, you look at what Florida got, and for a guy like Vincent Trocheck, who's proven to be a very solid 2-way second-line center in this league, to get Eric Haula, Lucas Wallmark, and 2 decent prospects back, I think that is a steal for the Carolina Hurricanes.
I completely agree. I thought that was a heck of a trade. I like Vince Trocheck. I always have. I always thought he was a really good player. And to not really get, I mean, Lucas Wallmark's a good prospect, and he was on the roster, so he's a good player. Haula, middle-aged center, winger guy. I'm not saying he can't be a good player. Not a Vince Trocheck. He's more of a probably third, second-line guy at tops. And then I don't even know about the other 2 guys, to be completely honest with you. So that makes me think, they must not have given up too much.
But Trocheck is he's one of the best 2-way players in the league, in my opinion, and he's very undervalued because he plays on Florida, so people don't really see how good that guy is. I know he's had his injury struggles over the last few years, but if you're looking for a guy to fill a gap in a second-line center role, he is a perfect guy that would fit that mold. And for a team like the Buffalo Sabres, who have desperately needed a second-line center since Ryan O'Reilly was traded away, this is the guy that can stopgap you till Dylan Cousins is ready and not throwing him into the fire like they did with Casey Middlestad and basically hindering his development. Vincent Trocheck would have been the perfect piece for the Buffalo Sabres, and there are a lot of things that I would have given up in this organization, including a first-round pick for a guy like Vincent Trocheck.
I don't know about giving up a first-round pick unless you're making the playoffs for that type of trade, but I can see what you're saying, and I'm with you on that. I seeing him go for that low, it makes you wonder, why wasn't some of these GMs calling around and tinkering with that? Now, granted, who knows? To be completely honest with you, but that's a heck of a deal. That's a heck of a deal.
And that goes to show you that these types of players can be dealt.
Oh, boy.
Can be dealt.
Turn on the breaking thing, and you're not going to be happy.
Okay, let me turn this on. Intro breaking news.
The Buffalo Sabres have acquired Wayne Simmons. It also looks as though Columbus is reportedly close to a trade for Andreas Athanasiou as well.
Yeah, that's the trade I was waiting to break, but it hadn't happened yet. What is going on?
This makes me look stupid because I've been sitting here trying to help Jason Botterill with you, and he does that. I can't help him there. Can't help him there.
Does Jason Botterill really think that the Buffalo Sabres are going to be in playoff contention this year? And Wayne Simmonds is a guy that I love, okay? Wayne Simmonds is a guy, especially when it comes to fantasy hockey, he's a guy I drafted every year for almost five years in a row. Wayne Simmonds at this point in his career has not been doing a whole lot. He's a decent piece for a team that's contending, but why is Buffalo trading for Wayne Simmonds? Like, the guy's a free agent at the end of the year. Do you really think that guy is going to stay in Buffalo? I like Wayne Simmonds, but it doesn't, like, why does it help Buffalo right now? At all. It doesn't solve their center problem. He might as well be Kyle Okposo. Is basically the player that I'm comparing him to at this point. Like, you already have Kyle Okposo. You already have Kyle Okposo on your roster, which is essentially what Wayne Simmonds is at this point in his career. Oh, my goodness.
Well, details haven't come out yet, but I'm guessing they could not have given up that much for him. He wasn't playing good. He didn't play good for Nashville when we gave up a second-round pick for him. So I don't see it being a whole lot. But I guess we'll find out. But, yeah, that's an interesting trade to make if you're Jason Botterill.
Again, I like Wayne Simmonds, and if Buffalo was a contender, I would be pretty, happy with that move. But Buffalo right now, I mean, they're currently 6 points out. Actually, I think it's 8. And, like, what is Wayne Simmonds really going to put you over the top at this point? Where something that Vincent Trocheck wouldn't have done for your team? Vincent Trocheck would have actually gotten you guys a chance at making a playoff run. He's the one player that would have changed the makeup of your lineup, as you have a complete hole at second line center that has not been filled since Ryan O'Reilly was traded for a bunch of pieces that didn't work. Vincent Trocheck would be the guy to fill in for the Sabres, but no. They go and get Wayne Simmonds. So, I don't get it.
It looks like it's a 5th in 2021.
Okay, it's a 5th-round pick. I mean, I can handle that, but wow. I mean, how bad is that for New Jersey, by the way?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You couldn't get more than a 5th in next year's draft for him. I mean, I know he's been that bad, but Jesus Christ.
Derek Grant went for a 4th, and Kyle
Derek
Criscolo.
Grant just got a 4th. And another player. Huh?
Again, Wayne Simmonds, I like him, but is he going to be a second-line winger? I mean, he probably will be on this team, but do I like it? No. That's... Oh, boy. I have no words for that. I don't get it. I really don't. And this is coming from a guy who's been one of the biggest Wayne Simmonds fans over the years, but
you should have seen me jumping. Hell, I was going nuts when we traded for Wayne Simmonds last year. And then when he came here, I was quickly realized we made a bad trade.
So
he had just lost so much. Also, it looks like Devils are going to retain 50% of Simmonds' cap hit. So it's only going to be $2.5 million cap hit, which means there could be potential for more trades, actually, with that. No extension in place, obviously.
So right now, Buffalo sits 6 points back of Toronto for 3rd in the Atlantic Division, 4 points back of Florida, who, I don't know what they're doing, trading away Vincent Trocheck, but sure. Right now, like... I'm trying to find words, but I can't to understand this Jason Botterill. What is in Jason Botterill's mind making this trade for Wayne Simmonds? I can't help but laugh is basically all I can do.
And I've over the past month or so, I've been trying to get you off of that ledge. I honestly, up until today, I could defend a lot of what Jason Botterill did, and it's like I've been telling you, and Sabres fans up there, I know you guys have been through some hell, and it's not fun what you're going through. I get it. I being a Preds fan, and my team was almost freaking moved, but I just don't think. I think he's done a lot of moves that haven't worked out for some reason or another. But in my opinion, he's made the moves. He's made a lot of moves. And I know me and you argue about this a lot, but he's definitely made more moves it's like I keep telling you, would you rather be Ottawa right now who makes a lot of moves, actually, I just read a stat that said they've traded 39 players since 2017-18. Granted, that's still some minor leaguers too. But those are giving away players, essentially. That's not trading for players, you know? So things could be a lot worse.
They could, but when you're Buffalo, things just pile on and pile on and pile on.
And that's what I'm saying. I think you guys are you're a little biased up there in the terms of you've been through so much crap. you think everything's hell. So it's you know, I just Botterill hasn't done great a job, but I don't think he's done a terrible job either. And I think he's brought in some wingers to try to help that just for some reason hasn't worked out. And, you know,
he's hoarded these defensemen for whatever reason, then hasn't gotten rid of one.
Well, and it's like I told you about that too. I think that you don't want to make another knee-jerk trade like you did with O'Reilly, which, like me and you said, you liked it first too. And it just for one reason or another hasn't worked out. You don't want, because if you make another trade like the O'Reilly trade and it doesn't work out, you might as well say bye.
No, I get it, but then I see stuff like this today where Vincent Trocheck gets traded, and that's the perfect guy that you need for your lineup if you're Buffalo, and instead you go and get a Wayne Simmons, who is an expiring contract, a right winger that a team that's contending would want to have on their team. Again, he's making $5 million, so New Jersey's retaining half of it. That's the cap relief that they got for Zach Bogosian. But I just don't think that's the right direction to be going in, is getting a guy like Wayne Simmons to come in on your team. That's not going to solve the problems, especially when a guy
it looks like the fifth could turn into a fourth if the Sabres make the playoffs and Simmons plays 10 games.
If the Sabres make the playoffs, what is Botterill thinking? Like, honest to God, like, does he really think that this team is contending for a playoff spot? Like, they're 6 points out, but realistically, they just had a gravy 9 out of 10 game stretch at home, and they lost to the likes of Ottawa, Montreal, and Anaheim, who was on the back end of a 5-game Eastern road trip and were completely gassed. You lost to them. I mean, you look at the Leafs roster and the Panthers. I mean, at this point, they lose Trocheck, so I don't know what's going on with them. They're 3-7 in their last 10, so they're kind of going in the other direction. Luckily for the Leafs, who haven't been playing well lately. But I put the Sabres up against the Leafs. They got no shot. There's no way that the Sabres roster, as it is right now, is going to overtake a Toronto Maple Leafs roster that has that loaded forward crew that they have with Frederik Andersen and the D-core, who has played bad at times this year, but still has a lot of talent back there. I can't see a team like Buffalo competing with Toronto for a playoff spot down the stretch here in the final 20 games of the season. I just think the Leafs are too strong up front to.
No, and I don't think the trade signifies that he's necessarily thinking they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's just one of those things where I'm sure New Jersey, $20 says that Botterill's like, look, we're not giving you more than a fifth for Simmons the way he's been playing, but I'll give you a fourth if we make the playoffs, and he's obviously a part of helping us get there.
I just can't believe that New Jersey couldn't get more than a 5th-round pick for Wayne Simmons.
Well, the way he's been playing, he's worth a fifth. Some news out of Nashville. Of course, sad for me because I do like this guy. It looks as though Mikael Granlund and Pekka Rinne are not practicing today, or whatever that means. Now, Pekka, I could see that being more of a maintenance thing. It's still kind of odd, but the Granlund, I've been saying for a long time I loved Mikael Granlund, and when we got him, I was shitting my pants. We traded a freaking second line winger for Mikael Granlund. I was ecstatic.
The one that was unproven at that point, in Kevin Fiala.
Yeah, and Kevin Fiala's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be much better than a second, third line winger. And honestly, with his attitude and the way he does things, he could be Nail Yakupov after a couple years even. So there's no telling, but I was really excited, and he didn't play super great coming out of the stretch or coming in at first. But since the coaching change, he has just been playing absolutely incredible. And I've always said it's just going to take a little bit of time for probably him to get used to everything here. But I really like him. I hope we keep him. As much as all these players are going for, I don't know if we will. That's a lot of trade asset, but we'll see. So he's not on the ice for practice, though.
Interesting. He's on the last year of his deal. He's making $5.75 million. I think if you're smart, if you're Nashville, which they usually are smart when it comes to trades, they would probably retain some of that Granlund salary to get a better return since it's expiring.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Just because if we're gonna trade Granlund, it's gonna free up $6 million anyway, and I don't think we're gonna go out and get anybody else. If we trade Granlund, more than likely one of Rim Pitlick or oh my gosh, I just lost him. Eli Tolvanen. My gosh, I just lost it there in my head. Will probably be called up. They've been playing really well in Milwaukee lately, so that's the only reason I could see maybe. I was really hoping we'd trade Craig Smith, because seeing all the value all these guys are getting, I'm thinking, oh god, we can get a second and third round pick for Craig Smith, and then keep Granlund. But it doesn't look like that might not be happening. We could be keeping both. Like I've been telling you and a couple of our other buddies around, especially around here, that I don't think we're going to make too many. If we even make a trade today, it'll probably be for a depth defenseman, and because I don't think that I don't think we're sellers. I don't think Poyle's going to just go and sell it, because I don't think he thinks that we're done yet. But I think we are.
Nashville's an interesting team that I think if they can get from what I've been talking about on our show, on our Sabres edition shows the last few weeks, is that I think if you can pry one of these centers from Nashville, I think they'd be willing to trade one of them with the amount of money that they're paying their center crew there. I think obviously you can't get from under Duchesne. You just sign him to that 7-year deal worth $8 million. Johansson's been underperforming. I don't think anybody would take that contract at this point. But then you look at guys like Bonino. He's got 1 year left after this year at 4.1, and Kyle Turris, who still has 4 more years at $6 million, which I'm sure Nashville would love to get from underneath that contract to a team like Buffalo or another desperate team who really needs a second line center, and Turris would probably fill that role as of now. Not saying he's a second line center on a lot of good teams, but probably more of a third line center.
No, I mean, he's a second-line center. I think just the way he's been playing. I think with Laviolette, Laviolette kept forcing him down and putting him at wing and doing all this because we had too many centers at that point. I mean, you can't go trade for Turris, sign him to a 6-year extension, and then go and sign Duchesne and play all 3 of them at center. You just can't. You can't do that. You can't have a second-line, first-line center on your third line, and it's wasting talent. With Turris, here's the problem. I think by now they could have traded him. They could have. Oh, by the way, Red Wings claimed Dmytro Timashov off waivers from the Maple Leafs, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Ooh.
I figured that would happen.
What a snaggletooth by the Red Wings there.
Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. When I saw him going waivers, I'm like, well, that was stupid. You know dang well somebody's going to take him. What were we talking about? I'm sorry.
Turris.
That threw me right off.
Turris.
So the thing with Turris is I feel like a team definitely would have taken him by now. Problem is $6 million for 4 more seasons. That's the big thing. And you know dang well a team is like Buffalo maybe could be calling Nashville trying to get somebody like that. Problem is they're asking Poyle to take some of that salary. And they're probably asking for half, if not, they're probably asking for 2, if not half. $2 to $3 million to eat. And I know David Poyle, he ain't going to do that. He would rather keep all $6 million than eat and, basically be paying half a player, especially a player like Turris, who if he goes to another team and it clicks, he could be a 60, 70-point guy again. And do you really want to be paying $3 million for a guy to be a 60, 70-point guy on another team?
No.
You don't. So, in my opinion, that's what's stopping Poyle right now on that one. In my dream world, which it'll probably not happen, I would honestly love to get Johansson the hell out of Nashville. I'm pretty fed up with him. I'm ready to go with that. But that's a trade that's probably going to have to happen in the offseason when teams got more money. I think during the season that's a lot of money for a player. But again, a center, like you said earlier, centers, if he's a good center and he's young, a lot of teams are willing to eat that kind of money on a guy like that because it's a risk, but the reward could be monumental.
No, absolutely. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this Wayne Simmons trade, but again, I understand Vincent Trocheck is an unrestricted free agent, but if you're trying to get a Wayne Simmons to try to go for it, why not get a Vincent Trocheck to try to go for it? But sure. The Timashov was claimed off waivers. That's a nice grab by Detroit for sure. My only thing is that if Simmons was acquired by the Sabres, Frolik might be available from the Sabres after he was just acquired from Calgary a month ago for a 4th-round draft pick. I think he could be an intriguing piece for a team that needs like a fourth-line winger, somebody that is reliable in the playoffs. I think somebody would definitely be interested in a guy like Michael Frolik. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Montreal getting a 2nd-round pick from Marco Scandella after they had just acquired him from Buffalo for a 4th-round pick probably around a month ago. So another nice trade by Montreal. I mean, they get Kovalchuk for nothing, get a 3rd-round pick for him, and then they get Scandella for a 4th, and then get a 2nd, including a conditional 4th back for him. So Mark Bergevin turning garbage into gold here.
Oh yeah, and with that, I know you were a little upset about it too. Which, hey, if you had kept Scandella for much longer, y'all would have been bitching about that. And then, but he traded him, and then the only reason I think that Montreal got so much more out of him is because St. Louis literally lost like 3 players the next night, so they were hurting, and they had to jump and react. And Marco Scandella is one of those guys who he's more of a 3rd-line D pair, but he can jump to top 4 if you need him to. So that's one of those type of things, and I think it was just one of those situations where necessity took over, and they were willing to give up more, because I just don't. That's what I don't understand, is how you give up a 2nd-round pick for somebody like Marco Scandella after you just saw him go for a 4th. So that to me was more of a bad trade by St. Louis than it was by a good trade for Montreal.
Maybe St. Louis felt bad for Buffalo. They didn't want to give him a good trade after ripping him off for Ryan O'Reilly. But Wayne Simmons is going to be a top 6 forward on Buffalo at 31 years old. I can't.
Just read from John Shannon, who is the Islanders. Actually, I think he works for Sportsnet now. He said Islander source confirms that J.G. Pageau will be signing an extension in Long Island.
Wow. Okay. Well,
so that trade looks even better now.
So there goes the reunited in Ottawa after the season. There goes that.
Yeah, there goes that idea, which we kind of figured probably wasn't going to happen anyway, but
No, but oh man.
By the way, if you guys just throwing this out there, I know if some of you guys are probably listening to ours and watching Sportsnet or TSN or whatever, but I've just I've got a couple TVs going here too, and they've got all these past guys who've been traded on the Sportsnet talking about their trade deadline deals. This is cool. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Anybody who's looking for something interesting to kind of watch while they're killing time for the trades to happen. This is really cool. They're all talking about their deals, and they were because they just showed a highlight of Colby Armstrong playing for the Atlanta Thrashers. So of course I popped on that one.
I just saw something come across the screen. As cool as that is, that the Anaheim Ducks have claimed former Niagara Ice Dog Andrew Agozzino off waivers from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep. I was just about to say that too.
Nice little depth add for them. Maybe they can flip him for a 4th-round pick like they did Derek Grant. But still waiting on that Athanasiou trade. It hasn't come through yet. So
yeah, that's been out there for about 30, 40 minutes, and nothing seems to be coming out of it. So, which either means they're probably working on some sort of extension, because I think Athanasiou's only got a year left after this year, which he could be. Actually, no, I think he's a free agent. So it could be working on an extension. That could be what's holding it up. It could be something along those lines. Which Columbus is a team that doesn't have much assets to trade, considering they gave up a lot of them last year. So it's kind of interesting to see what they're going to be giving up for all this.
Aaron Portzline covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for The Athletic. My buddy Colin Ward, shout outs to him. He liked this tweet. Reportedly, Columbus trading for Athanasiou. It would be interesting move as Athanasiou has the same agent as Josh Anderson, which is Darren Ferris. So I don't know. Take that as you wish. If Josh Anderson, he was one of the names rumored to be on the move for Columbus. If they were going to be making trades today.
I just don't see Detroit trading Athanasiou, a younger, faster player, for an older. I mean, I'm not saying Anderson's old; he's only 26, but an older. Bigger. He's a power forward, so he's a little slower of a player. I just don't see them. They're looking for youth, and they're looking for picks and prospects and to help them in the future.
Yeah. Tyler Ennis's gear was in the Sens locker room, but no sign of Ennis inside the Nationwide Arena, according to Matthew Skinetti of TSN. So, if you're interested in Tyler Ennis rumors, there you go. But, Ty, let's continue on here. We had a couple late deals as we were coming on the air here regarding some minor end pieces there. We had the Philadelphia Flyers acquiring Nate Thompson for a 5th-round pick. I like Nate Thompson. He's a solid 4th-line player. He's very reliable. Is definitely one of those guys that you like to have in the playoffs. Philly obviously thinks that they're a contender at this point, so getting a guy like Nate Thompson for a 5th-round pick, I guess, isn't the worst trade in the world. But what do you think about the Habs here getting another draft pick? They've acquired a fair amount of draft picks here in the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of picks. It looks like they're kind of moving in the right direction.
Yep. We're going to take a quick commercial break, guys, on the show today and come back and give you more trade deadline news as it comes in here. Still waiting on the Athanasiou trade, so I'll be right back here on the Under Review podcast right here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, serving Italian pizzas made with the freshest, top-quality ingredients. Loaded subs and our famous chicken wings, winners of the 2017 Reader's Choice Awards, and the brand-new recipients of the 2019 Reader's Choice Diamond Award from Niagara this week for Best Pizza in Niagara Falls. Open daily, located on the corner of Drummond Road and Dunn Street. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery. 905-374-4400. Debit and credit accepted for both. You've tried the rest. It's time to try us. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. Attention job seekers. If you're currently looking for work in the Niagara region, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls. Free services include resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, community resource and referral information, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, second career information and registration assistance, and check out our available workshops under our events calendar on our website for more details at www.ehc.on.ca. The Niagara Employment Help Center. Marcel Dion Inc. Come in and check out our store and meet Marcel Dion himself. We have wall-to-wall NFL, MLB, and NHL licensed products and all kinds of collectibles. We specialize in autographed sports memorabilia. If you don't see what you're looking for, just ask and we'll find it for you. So next time you need a great gift idea for that sports fanatic in your life, or you need to add to your own collection, come visit us first. You won't be disappointed. 905-357-7678, Marcel Dion Inc. Chippin' Charlie's, it's where the locals go. Fun, friendly, and entertaining staff. You're not just a customer, you're family. Lots of TVs, amazing food, and always a great time. Open daily 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Call 905-371-3428 for inquiries and reservations, located at 8189 Lundy's Lane, Niagara Falls. Chippin' Charlie's, it's where the locals go. Mid-City Motors Niagara, your premium source for pre-owned vehicles. Financing and leasing for all types of credit. Check them out at 4460 Drummond Road, Niagara Falls, or at mcmniagara.com. They are also happy to announce Mid-City Mechanic is now open. They can repair, maintain, and service all makes and models of vehicles. Conveniently located behind Mid-City Motors at Drummond Road and Perkins Street. They will be happy to help you keep your car on the road. 905-371-2277. That's Mid-City Motors and Mid-City Mechanic. You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network. Alright guys, welcome back here to the Under Review podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network. This is your Trade Deadline Day special, all-day special with you here. Cappy here with you, along with my co-host Tyler Jones, who has just stepped out for a little bit. But, oh boy, I'm still... Again, I'm going to be saying it all day, just trying to wrap my head around Wayne Simmonds going to the Buffalo Sabres for a 5th-round draft pick. Still don't really understand why and how that really... how benefits Buffalo, besides the fact that he can stand in front of the net on the power play, but sure, we'll leave it at that. But going through some of these trades here from earlier, I guess from a few days ago, we ended off talking about the Cody Eakin and the Cody Eakin trade from Vegas, Boston acquiring Andre Kase. One trade that I really liked that I thought was a very underrated move here was the Vegas Golden Knights acquiring Alec Martinez from the Los Angeles Kings for a 2nd-round pick in 2020 and a second in 2021. I think it's a very good trade for both teams. The Kings obviously are in a very deep cap trouble right now and just need to get guys off their books and rebuild towards the future. Getting 2 second-round picks for Alec Martinez, I think, is a very solid deal. Obviously, Alec Martinez scored the Stanley Cup winning goal for the LA Kings for one of their 2 Stanley Cups during their dynasty in the mid 2000s, 2010s decade there. And Alec Martinez, I think, is a very solid piece for the Vegas Golden Knights. I really like Martinez. He's a very good shot blocker, and he definitely gives some stability to that Vegas Golden Knights decor that, obviously they had to get rid of Colin Miller in the offseason this year. So looking at it right now, you have Nate Schmidt, Shea Theodore, Alec Martinez, Braden McNabb, Derek Englund, and your choice of John Merrill, Nick Holden. So I think Martinez, he's making $4 million for this year and next year, but he's a very nice, solid piece for Vegas. And is already paying dividends in the few games that he has played, for the Vegas Golden Knights. A goal and assist last night, and I believe as I'm trying to look it up here, where is it? It's in 3 games with Vegas so far, he has 4 points, which is very nice, a +5 rating, and has 9 block shots in those 3 games, so he's definitely... doing some nice things for Vegas. He played 20 minutes in his first game, 17 minutes in his second, and 18-28 in his third game with Vegas. So I really like that move for the Knights. I think Alec Martinez is a very solid player and a very good playoff defenseman that you'd love to have for stability back there on your back end. The other trade that I want to discuss real quick is the San Jose Sharks traded away Brendan Dillon to the Washington Capitals for a 2nd-round pick in 2020 and a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2021. Obviously, the Sharks, for the first time in a long time, are in sell mode, so it would make sense for them to trade a pending UFA defenseman that they were most likely not going to re-sign anyway. So I think getting a 2nd and 3rd for Brendan Dillon is nice for San Jose, as they need to start restocking the shelves, as they have traded away their draft picks for many years now, and they don't even own their own 1st-round pick this year, which looks like it might be a top 5 pick at this point. So it's a very disastrous situation for the Sharks. So now they go and pick up those picks from Washington, which leaves them with 2 seconds in 2020. This year they still don't have a 1st. Obviously they don't have their own. They haven't acquired a 1st yet. And then in 2021 they now have three 3rd-round picks at the moment. So good trade for San Jose to try to recoup some assets that they have traded away for many years here. I expect a few more trades coming from them if they can find some takers for a couple of their pending UFAs. And I'm going to just reload what's going on right now on the rumor mill, as we're still waiting for that Athanasiou trade, as it still hasn't come in yet. Still waiting to find out what the deal is with that. And let's see, I'm just getting Wayne Simmons stuff across my timeline, and I don't really know how to feel about it right now. But Athanasiou is a very nice piece for Columbus if or when that trade eventually does get done. He's a very, very fast player. I know he's a minus 43 or whatever it is, but I mean, who isn't a minus on the Red Wings this year? But Athanasiou definitely has top end speed and somebody that can add a lot to that lineup for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But and we have Tyler Jones joining us back here, and Ty.
Sorry, had a guest at the door.
Was David Poyle knocking at your door?
Yeah, he came over to ask me what I thought about all the trades today, and I told him the way deals are going, he needs to get on it.
Yeah. So I just quickly went over some of the trades that happened a few days ago: the Brennan Dillon trade, the Alec Martinez trade, and I guess Dylan DeMello for a third-round pick is another nice grab for Ottawa, getting a third from a team that was desperate for D-help in Winnipeg. Dylan DeMello, really a bottom-pair defenseman, but for Ottawa to get a third-round pick for a bottom-pair defenseman, I think that's a very nice job by Pierre Dorian.
Well, you can say bottom-pair defenseman, but his possession stats and all the fancy stats, he's a very good underrated defenseman, and I feel like playing on Ottawa, that didn't help him too much, obviously. But I think he's a pretty good little addition for. I wasn't super happy about it because Winnipeg's our rival, but it's a good deal for them. I thought, giving up a third, a little high, but like I said, I think for the undervalue, it's one of those high risk, high reward type situations. I feel like,
and Winnipeg obviously needs D help. It was reported that Dustin Bufflin will not be back for the rest of the season, so they definitely needed some defense help. And Winnipeg was in Buffalo yesterday, so I really hope that Chevy and Botterill were talking about possibly doing something. I mean, they were there together in person yesterday, which would have been nice to report a trade with Buffalo and Winnipeg today, which have been linked as obvious trade partners since the summer with the amount of defense that Buffalo has available and with the Winnipeg Jets looking to trade a forward with money and term. So I think it would just have been a perfect world, but obviously in Buffalo we don't live in a perfect world, so that's...
Well, and it still could be. Like I said, I think the high salary trades, I mean, because Risto's not super high salary, but these high dollar, over $5 million players, it's just going to be hard the way the cap situation is for most of these top teams to get a guy like that into your team. Even if you're trading, let's say they do an Ehlers for Risto swap or something along those lines. That's 6 and $5 million or 6 and $6 million or whatever. So that a little evens out. But if you're trading for prospects or picks or whatever to try to help the team in the future, you're not really, Winnipeg sends, you're going to be able to afford that. So I don't, and Winnipeg's also in a situation too where they have all these guys locked up other than Line A. I mean, they basically have all their, they have Connor locked up, Ehlers locked up, and I'm trying to think of the other, who else up there is, really, I know Wheeler and all them are, they're older, so I mean in terms of the younger guys.
We'll get back to this. I got to break another trade.
Okay.
According to Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, Danton Heinen has been traded from the Boston Bruins to the Anaheim Ducks for Nick Ritchie.
Oh, the Ritchie brothers are together in Boston.
So Nick Ritchie fits right in with the Boston Bruins, I'll tell you that. And I know for our buddy Ragu, he shout outs to him. He really wasn't happy with Danton Heinen. So
I was going to say, a lot of Boston fans were not happy with Danton Heinen this year, so it's that makes a lot of sense for them.
And I think Heinen probably, might benefit from playing with Anaheim, having a better chance at, cracking the top 6 there. Maybe plays on their second line. Nick Ritchie is a very nice ad for Boston. He definitely is more of a power forward type player, brings grit. Obviously, that's that's what Boston loves those types of players. And it was interesting because after Boston made the Kase trade, it was rumored that they might be done. So obviously that them not getting Kreider, Toffoli, or anybody like that. Palmieri was another name that was thrown around, but Simmons as well. But I think Nick Ritchie is a very nice addition, and he's still young enough that he definitely could have a long-term future with the Boston Bruins here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought when they traded Backes that cap money coming off the books was going to free them up to make a bigger trade. And obviously, Kreider was the one there. I think Kreider was the one they were going after. And I think once Kreider was basically, because I want to say, especially with it coming out today that he re-signed, I'm guessing last night they pretty much decided that they were going to re-sign. So I'm sure they told him, they probably called him and was asking about it and said, hey, we're more than likely looking like we're going to keep him. So I'm sure Boston was kind of struggling to figure out what they wanted to do at that point. I don't think New Jersey's going to trade Palmieri. I think they're going to try to keep him. And why wouldn't you? He's a good player, a good leader to help with the youth influx that's going to be coming in New Jersey. So with that, like I said, like you were saying, I think it's a great deal for Boston in terms of you trade a guy who wasn't performing for a guy who is, bigger body, going to be able to help you, give you depth too.
And he fits the Bruins mold perfectly.
Right, you're 100% on that. He fits the Bruins scheme and the way they play and the whole physicality of that system. I think it's a really good trade for them.
He's 24 years old. He's making $1.49 million for this year and next year. Then he's an RFA. So term, and they have control over him as an RFA. So I think that is a very, very nice ad for Boston in getting Nick Ritchie. And I'm going to hate to play against this guy now within the Sabres division with Boston. I'm sure it's a guy that I'm going to hate playing against. But for Bruins fans, that's definitely a Bruins type of acquisition right there. And it's not like he's David Backes where he's old and not going to produce much. Nick Ritchie has some upside being only 24 years old. And if I'm Anaheim, I'm looking at that and saying, could we have gotten a little bit more than just Danton Heinen for Nick Ritchie?
But I'm sure it could also be, because again, it's Boston and Anaheim. This could be another kind of thing where they called him and said, look, we gave you a pretty good deal on that, for Kasha, maybe help us out a little bit here. Maybe we don't have to give you an extra pick. Because I'm sure that Anaheim was probably saying, yeah, we'll give you Nick Ritchie for Heinen, but we're also going to want a fourth or a third or whatever thrown in.
That's interesting that Anaheim and Boston have made two trades like this.
Holy smokes. Big rumor.
Rumor? Is it a trade or is it a rumor?
No, this is rumor.
Okay.
Frank Saravelli, TSN, president of the PHWA, obviously, hearing that the Isles are working on a deal that would reunite Zach Parise with GM Lou Lamoriello.
How are they going to trade that contract?
How is that going to happen?
That is one of the worst contracts in hockey. That was one of the last 11-year deals or 12-year deals that we saw before the new rule was put in place that you could only do a 7-year deal for a free agent that wasn't yours and an 8-year deal for a free agent that was yours. So I don't know. That's
going to be a interesting. I'll tell you what. If that does go through, there's going to be a lot of contingencies, a lot of salary retainment, and Minnesota's end. I have a feeling that's going to be an interesting trade.
And they would have to retain salary for a lot of years.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. But if you're Minnesota, do you say, yeah, we'll take $3 million just to get that extra 7 out of our books or whatever? I don't even remember how much that they make. I know him and Suter signed for the same thing, but
so I'm looking right now. I'm on Cap Friendly. The Islanders have a current cap space of $3.3 million, and that doesn't take into account Pajot's extension of whatever that is. So if I go to Minnesota, just give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
And Minnesota currently only has $2.7 million in cap space. Parise is on the books until the year 2024-25 is his last year of his deal, making $7.5 million. So, like you said, the Islanders would definitely be having to retain at least $3 million of that. Minnesota would have to be probably retaining at least $3 million of that. Parise is already 35 years old, making $7.5 million for the next 4 years after this year.
I just don't see that being a trade that I would make at all. Even if they retain the salary, do you want a 35-year-old guy who's not like he's played all that great since he signed that contract?
He's had a nice season for Minnesota, but I'm still not paying a 35-year-old $7.3 million for the next 4 years after this year. Unless Minnesota really wants that contract gone and they're willing to basically have a dead cap hit of $4 million on their books for the next 4 years, I just don't see that happening. I mean, Parise, he has had a very nice career, very good player, but at this point in his career, this year, he's had a nice season. He's got 37 points. He's got 15 power play points, 11 power play goals, actually. But regardless, with that money, I still don't think that's worth it for what you're going to get from this guy for the next 4 years.
No. And my thing, too, is for Minnesota, that's a done deal.
Okay, so should we break this?
Well, hold on. I'm not seeing anything from a legit source, but I've got a text. So hold on.
Yeah, we'll wait for that. But what is this? I just had something come across my timeline here. Something about Derek Jeter's jersey sold for $369,000 or something like that. I don't know. Whatever. Non-hockey related. Just
back to hockey a little bit. Oh, that's a bad trade. Out of Nashville, just wanted to give an update on the Granlund and Rene situation. So apparently, Pekka has a illness, and that's why he's out. And apparently, they've given Granlund a maintenance day, which could still be involved in trade still. But
just say maintenance day, just to so people aren't hovering around.
Yeah, so they're not freaking out. And then it looks like a small trade here. Ottawa gets Matthew Pekka from Montreal for Aaron Luchuk and a 2022 7th. So minor league trade. Yeah, well, okay, but I'm still not hearing done deal on the Parise deal.
There's a tweet from Michael Russo, who covers the NHL Minnesota Wild for The Athletic. He said Parise is willing to move his no-trade clause if this comes to fruition. He's willing to waive no-move clause if this trade comes to fruition. It is a complicated trade. Talks have been ongoing with the Wild since last summer and have been revived lately. Ladd would have been the return last year.
That's what I'm thinking, is that Ladd's going to be involved in it. Because here's the thing too with Minnesota: if you take Ladd's more than likely going to end up on a lifetime IR. I mean, you'll save that money anyway. Which is another thing too that I'm kind of with Minnesota, which is what I'm thinking about too after hearing about the LTIR thing. Is it more likely that Parise gets hurt being over 35?
I mean, he has had back problems.
And is it not more? Is it not make more sense to keep him, play him, and pay him $7 million for a year or two, hope that he gets hurt, and then put him on LTIR and save the whole $7.5 million?
You'd think that.
I don't know. I don't know.
Andrew Ladd is 34. He's making $4.4 million for the next 3 years. And actually, in the last year of his deal, he's making 5.1 as his cap hit. So, it's and that's for a guy.
It's not usual that it goes up in the last year of an older guy's contract. That's a little odd.
Yeah, actually, it goes up. It's weird. It's 4.425 for the next 2 years. Then it's 4.375, and then it's 5.1. So
yeah, that's odd.
It goes down in the second last year, and then it goes up in the last year of the deal. So Andrew Ladd, I mean, he's probably not going to be playing at this point, and if he does, I'm sure Minnesota would love to get under that.
It looks like that deal might be done.
Might? Well, we're still waiting for confirmation on it.
Still waiting on a full-blown, legit source to say it. But the way it looks like, a lot of people are saying it's a done deal. But I'm waiting to see full details and full a Brian McKenzie or a Dreger tweet it at this point.
Yeah, Frank Saravelli from TSN says sounds like Andrew Ladd may be part of the package. Well,
yeah,
no,
I read that too, and then it looks like Eklund is pretty all over it, saying it's a done deal. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll wait for official confirmation. I don't want to be breaking false trades here. So,
but it looks like that could be happening.
And we all. There's always these deals that we don't expect that just come out of nowhere on deadline day. We're always expecting UFAs or pending UFAs to go, and then we see like one hockey trade that nobody sees coming that just kind of comes out of nowhere. I know Trocheck was a UFA, but I really thought that Florida would keep him considering they're right in the thick of it, 2 points back at the Leafs for the playoff spot.
Trocheck signed through 21-22.
Oh. I could have sworn he was a free agent.
Nope.
Okay. So... Regardless, that's a trade that I didn't see coming, especially for a haul that wasn't blowing their socks off from Florida. I knew Trocheck's name had been thrown out there, but I thought if they wouldn't have gotten a huge return, that he wouldn't have been going anywhere. But
right
from the sounds of it, I mean, I don't know what their deal is with him at the moment. I mean, you have Barkov as your number one center, but then now you lose Trocheck. You put Haula in that spot. I mean, that's obviously a downgrade in my opinion. Yeah. So, I just don't get it from Florida's perspective. You're right in the thick of it for the playoffs.
Florida apparently too is involved in talks with New Jersey for Sami Vatanen too. That's been a rumor that's been kind of floated around this morning.
And the other interesting thing is Trocheck now, where does he fit in on Carolina? I mean, is he their first line center? Is he their second line center? I have no idea.
Sebastian Aho's their first line center. There's no way he's getting off that. He'll probably end up being their second line center, which that's going to be a huge help for Carolina. They needed a guy like that, and to play with. I don't even know who's on their second line right now. Whether it's Teravainen, Svechnikov. They've got some really good wingers in Carolina. I'll tell you what. Nichis. I don't know if they've got him playing center or not.
No, but they have had Jordan Staal playing center this year with Aho.
Well, Jordan Staal is a center, but he can move down. He'd be a much better third line center.
No, but he's been playing first line center for them for most of the
year.
Really? Now they finally decided to come to their senses and put Sebastian Aho at center. But so Trocheck, I like that. If Jordan Staal now slides down to the number 3 center with Aho number 1, Trocheck number 2, Staal number 3 with Svechnikov, Teravainen, Nikas, Niederreiter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a formidable lineup there. That's a nice lineup for the Hurricanes. And maybe they'll add that.
I mean, they've really got some depth too. I mean, I'm looking at their line combos right now. The way it's looking, it looks like it's going to be Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen, Niederreiter, Trocheck, Nichis, Warren Fogle, Staal, Justin Williams. I don't know about that one. It's a little slow in my opinion. And then Ryan Dzingel, I completely forgot that he plays for them. Jordan Martinook and Brock McGinn. Problem is their D right now. Their D is a little banged up. Obviously with, oh my gosh, Dougie Hamilton being out. He's out for the remainder of the year. And then I want to say last night, was it Brett Pesce that got hurt?
Yeah, he
or
did.
Was it?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so that's going to be a huge loss for them too. And at that point, your D pairs become Slavin, Van Riemsdyk, Gardner, Hayden Fleury, Joel Edmondson. You're missing some big beefs there.
Yeah,
on the back end.
And I mean, another thing that has been rumored is their first round pick is in play for the right defenseman. So that's another thing to keep an eye on for Carolina. I'm looking here, and there's an interesting tweet with regards to the cap penalties for this trade, if it would happen. This is from Cap Friendly. If Parise is indeed traded to the Islanders, and if Parise were to retire at any point in the next 5 years, here's what the recapture penalties would look like for both Minnesota and the Islanders. So, Minnesota's cap penalty, if I'm trying to look at it here. Oh my goodness. So, if Parise were to retire, the penalties that would occur for the Minnesota Wild are massive. They are Shea Weber-like, Ty.
Yep, I know.
Are you ready for this? So, and if he were to retire, 2021 their cap penalty would be $4.8 million. In 2022 would be $6.45 million. In 2023 would be $9.68 million. And if he retired in 2024, their cap penalty would be $19.3 million.
Oh my God.
So that is,
which, I mean, granted, I understand because that $19 million is basically the sum of what it would be if that, for over 4 years, that $4 million, and then year 2021. So I mean, that's ridiculous. That is just unbelievable. Which teams get away with that now because the LTIR. Honestly, no guy will retire. They'll just go on lifetime injury reserve. So it's,
Yeah, it's.
That's why the cap recapture penalties. I think everybody gets their panties in a wad over that kind of stuff. But when you think about it, these teams have thought about this stuff. They know that they're going to be able to do a Chris Pronger type situation. Just, they're hurt. They can't play. They can't this. They can't whatever. They'll figure out a way to get around it. There ain't no way these teams are going to be paying $20 million in a cap recapture penalty. It's just, that ain't going to happen. So.
Shea Weber and the Predators?
It won't happen.
So
because here's the thing. Even if Shea retires, he's been so injured up his entire career. Montreal and us will be like, yeah, well, he's hurt. He's hurt. So we'll just. And Shea's also one of those people too. He's not going to want to screw the teams over. So he's going to say, yeah, man, just I'll keep paying me, and I'll just sit here.
Yeah, but looking at the TSN trade bait list at the moment, and Pajot's been dealt. Kreider has been re-signed. So currently their top asset is Carolina's first-round pick is left on the list. Then it goes to Sami Vatanen, Tyson Barrie from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nemesnikov's been dealt. Athanasiou, we're still waiting on that deal, although it looks like Columbus is the destination for Athanasiou. Eric Gustafsson from Chicago was held out of the lineup last night. Derek Grant was actually number 9 on the list, so there you go, Ty, your buddy Derek Grant.
I can't get over this Derek Grant stuff. That's just unbelievable to me.
He was dealt. Dustin Byfuglien will not play the rest of the year. Then Jesper Faust from the New York Rangers at number 11, 28 years old, 27 points on the year in 60 games, $1.85 million cap hit UFA after this year. Marlowe was dealt. Thornton still waiting on that. Hollow was dealt. Mike Hoffman is an interesting name as well. He's a UFA at the end of the year, but I mean, I thought Florida was going to be contending, but at this point, I mean, they trade away Vincent Trocheck, so I don't know what they're doing. Mike Hoffman might be a piece that would be nice for them to get a good haul for if they're really looking to trade him. I don't understand why they would do that. Mike Hoffman's had a fantastic season for Florida, and he's always a threat on the power play. Guy gets a ton of shots on goal. He's got 24 goals on the year, 27 assists, almost 200 shots on net. I mean, the guy's a beast. I don't know why they would want to trade him other than the fact that he's a UFA at the end of the year. And don't understand why they're trading Trocheck. I'm still scratching my head on that one, but Florida, I guess, is a wild card here for making some trades that we didn't see coming. Simmons has been traded. Ennis is still remains to be seen about him. Leonard and Saad from the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are another team that I think they're interesting because I think they should be sellers, but whether they will be or not is to be seen.
So, interesting kind of thing thrown into the Eric Haula and Trocheck trade. So, when Vegas traded Eric Haula to Carolina, they had a condition or something on one of those picks where if they signed him or they kept him or whatnot. So Vegas is actually going to get a 2021 fifth-round pick out of this deal from Carolina because of the Eric Haula, Nicholas, I don't know if it's Waugh or Roy on that one, to be completely honest with you. Trade from June 27th because Haula was part of the deal in Florida.
So Vegas gets a fifth-round pick out of that.
Vegas gets a fifth for free, I guess, because they didn't re-sign him. I'm guessing is the thing on that.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been the term that they get to keep the fifth if they resign. I don't know, or maybe they. Oh, you know what? I bet Vegas traded a fifth with Holla and then said if you don't sign him, we'll get that, or if you re-sign him, we get that fifth back.
Yeah, something along those lines.
And so now that they traded him, it's no point, whatever, So I don't know. That's an interesting little throw-in to that whole trade and scenario.
Yep. So, guys, while we wait for this Athanasiou trade that we've been waiting for probably about 45 minutes to an hour
and
here,
this Parise rumored deal.
And this Parise trade, we're going to take our next commercial break here on the show and come back with our full trade deadline day coverage for you here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network. The Blue Line Diner is Niagara's leading breakfast restaurant. Great food, great service, and where else can you see one of the NHL's greatest players having coffee and conversation with patrons? Of course, Marcel Dion Inc. is located directly next door, and Marcel is always in and out of the restaurant, talking to the kids and the fans that walk through the doors. Open Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. 289-296-8785, the Blue Line Diner, located on Montrose Road, Niagara Falls. Simply Fit Health Club, real 24-hour access, 7 days a week. Located at 6595 Drummond Road, Niagara Falls. A clean, modern facility with top-of-the-line equipment, a friendly and non-judgmental environment, free Wi-Fi, ample parking, and more. Come in and tour their facility anytime during their office hours, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Don't hesitate to stop in, no appointment necessary. They take pride in helping their members reach their health and fitness goals at their convenience and for the best possible price. For only $9.99 bi-weekly, members will get access to the state-of-the-art facility any day, anytime. What are you waiting for? At Simply Fit, there are no excuses, only results. Come see for yourself, 289-296-9535, or info at simplyfithealthclub.com. Simply Fit Health Club. Michelangelo's, Niagara Falls' premier sports kitchen and bar. We're all about food, friends, and fun. Catch the game with us and grab a delicious bite to eat while enjoying a cold beer. Bus trips to sporting events, live music performances, and sports pools throughout the year. Open daily 11 a.m. to midnight and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Michelangelo's, Niagara Falls' premier sports kitchen and bar. Canadian Wrestling Figure Store. Check out their website at cwf.ecwid.com for the best selection in Canada for WWE Elites, Basics, and exclusive action figures. Free Canada-wide shipping on any order over $200. Enter the code ARMCHAIR at checkout so they know that we sent you to receive 10% off your order. Once again, that's Canadian Wrestling Figure Store at cwf.ecwid.com. Attention employers! Finding the right candidate to meet your hiring needs requires more than just posting an advertisement and waiting for a suitable candidate to apply. Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Free job postings, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, all candidates will be pre-screened, job trials and placement incentives, and financial assistance may be applicable to offset the cost of training. Again, this Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls. www.ehc.on.ca. You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network. Alright guys, welcome back to the Under Review podcast here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. This is our full day NHL Trade Deadline special. And Ty, what are we looking at here coming back from the break? Is there any news regarding this Athanasiou trade yet that we've been waiting for?
No news on the Athanasiou trade. And same stuff coming out about the Parise deal that I can see, so nothing new.
Nothing new. Okay, so looks like we're hitting the dry spell at this point, and Again, we're going to be taking a break around probably 2 o'clock Eastern time, so within the next, just over an hour is going to be our next break. We're going to take probably about a half-hour break and come back to you with the deals that always seem to trickle in near the end of the deadline. Even though the deadline time passes, there's always a log jam with the phones and things like that on late trades coming in, so we're gonna bring you guys that all the way to probably around 5 o'clock Eastern time. But our next break's going to be in about an hour. With that being said, Ty, let's say we look into just what else is available out there and where you think that these guys are going to go. We were planning on doing this earlier, but there were so many
trades that kind of
and a lot of the guys that we were going to talk about got moved. So
that's kind of makes it more interesting though, because now there's less teams and less guys and less need for players at this point.
So do you want to go off the trade bait list, or do you?
Yeah.
Or do you have your okay? So if we're going off the trade bait list, Kreider's not available, Pageau's not available. So this is interesting because it's not a player, but Carolina's first round pick. So technically, it would only be traded for a defenseman. So you could kind of make this a two-parter with who Carolina's going to trade their first round pick for, but what defenseman's going to get traded for.
Yeah, if anything, in my opinion, the only thing I can possibly see happening is Sami Vatanen. First-round pick for Sami Vatanen.
And he's currently fourth on the list, so.
So that there you go. That just makes a lot of sense to me. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. I don't know if I'd give up a first for Sami Vatanen, but the way everything is, especially, it looks like D-men are at a premium right now, because there's just not as many available as the way it looks like as there's forwards. So price could be driven up. Like I said, or like I was talking about earlier, it looks like Carolina and Florida are involved in Sami Vatanen. So a first round pick could probably get him. I'm not, I just don't know if I'd give up that much for him.
No, he's UFA, but he's the number one rental D on the market if Tyson Barrie's not completely available.
Yeah, I did forget about Tyson Barrie.
But we don't even know if he's really available at this point because Toronto's still in the hunt, so it's not like they're sellers.
They are, but has Barrie really worked out for them?
No.
And he's more of an offensive defenseman, and I don't know, man. If you can get another good defenseman for Barrie, or I'll tell you what, like I think it was earlier this morning, I was reading where somebody said, you trade Barrie and all that to Vancouver, you get picks and prospects. You use those picks and prospects to go trade for another defenseman. So technically, Toronto doesn't, because Toronto's trying to win now, and teams aren't going to be able to give up. If a team wants Tyson Barrie, they ain't giving up roster players because they want to win now too. So basically, you're going to have to get a bunch of prospects and picks and a bunch of stuff, and then trade them away to somebody else. So it's going to be a bigger deal. Toronto's in a big situation here. They're in some trouble. In my opinion.
Well, I mean, they're having troubles keeping the puck out of their own net, and as good as their defense is on the rush, they're lacking in their own zone and struggling big time. And if you're if you're the Leafs, you don't want to take Barrie out of your lineup and replace him with somebody that's going to be worse, or not replace him with anybody. But it's hard if you, like you were saying, the scenario if they want to trade for draft picks for Barrie, then within the next 3 hours they have to try to flip those draft picks for another player of equal or lesser value than Tyson Barrie. And I just think that in itself is hard to do in half of a day to make two trades like that.
Oh, in less than half a day. I mean, 3 hours. The other part of it is, and it's like I said, some players, I'm sure some people will be like, oh, I'm sure some team would give up a roster player for him. But if you're trading for Tyson Barrie, you are a team that is pretty close, or you're a team that thinks you can re-sign him. And either way, in my opinion, you're going to give up a lot, and you don't give up roster players for somebody like that. That's somebody you definitely try to give up picks and prospects for, and to make your team better now. And especially Vancouver, if that's the team that's been rumored, that they're definitely not going to want to give up roster players, because hell, their depth isn't all that great anyway. So I wouldn't want to do that either. But
with Barrie's a UFA. It's not like it's a hockey trade where the guy's got term left in control. He's a UFA at the end of the year. So it's a very tough situation for the Leafs, who they acquired him to basically be their rental. But Now
Well, they acquired him. No, I don't think so. I think they really acquired him to be their top defenseman. And Tyson Barrie, look, he's a really good offensive-minded guy. And the way the NHL's going, offensive-minded defensemen are very, very valuable. But you also need that offensive defenseman. That's why I love Roman Josi so much. Yeah, he is offensive-minded probably 60% of the time. But he can get back. And he gets back 90% of the time to play D, and plays D better than most defensive defensemen do. So it's one of those. Tyson Barrie is not that type of player. He is an offensive-minded guy, but he's got a big body. He just doesn't use it. And obviously the situation, thinking that he was going to be your top D-man, has not worked out. Do you start thinking about that, especially with him being a UFA, if you don't want to keep him and he hasn't worked out? Hell, I understand you want to make the playoffs, but at this point, you got to get what you can for him. You don't want a situation like Nashville was in with Suter, where you keep him, you try to make that playoff run, and then he leaves at the end of the thing, when you could have gotten a lot of stuff for Suter, or a lot of stuff for Barrie, or a lot, you know what I mean?
It's just hard because the Leafs,
they're in a very tough situation, and especially being in Toronto, where the media, hockey media, is the most rabid. Honestly, I feel kind of bad for Kyle Dubas right now.
They have no cap space because Colorado's already retaining half of Barrie's salary, so he's only making $2.75 million. I don't think there's anybody out there that you're going to find that's going to replace Barrie that's going to be making $2.75 million that's going to be as good as he is. That's the issue.
No.
So you're definitely going to get worse on the back end trading a guy like that, unless, like you said, if there's a pick involved or a nice prospect. But I don't think that's the direction the Leafs want to go in, because they really need to make the playoffs this year and actually win a playoff round. So Barrie, he's in a tough spot there in Toronto, because I'm sure they'd love to move him, but they can't at this point because they need him for their defense depth at this point, unless they're going to trade one of these forwards for another defenseman that we haven't yet talked about, which, the rumors that I've been talking about and the guys on the Leaf Show have been talking about is, Kasperi Kapanen being traded for a possible defenseman that obviously the Sabres might be looking at trading Colin Miller or Brandon Montour for the right forward. And
and that's a rumor too that I've read too, was Kasperi Kapanen for Sami Vatanen.
But again, that's still that's another UFA defenseman that the Leafs will have, and then what are they going to do? Then they're going to have two of them.
And again, it's also another offensive-minded defenseman. Granted, I think Sami Vatanen can play D better than Tyson Barrie, but I don't know. They're in a very rough situation, especially on their back end. I know they've got some prospects that are coming up that are good. Liljegren, was it Sandin? Sandin,
yeah, Rasmus Sandin.
So, I mean, and then those are two really good guys, but I think especially Liljegren, I think he's at least probably 2 seasons, at least one from being able to be a top 4 defenseman on an NHL roster. And I don't know. See, this is my thing with paying. This is one of the things coming from Nashville. Our existence has been fueled by defensemen. We pay and draft and develop, and we do a lot with defensemen. And necessarily that hasn't worked out, and we haven't had the greatest of forwards, and we haven't put a lot of money into top forwards in our existence. The more I think about it, the more I'd rather put the money into the defenseman. Because the more I've seen these teams do this, where they put all their money into the forwards. And granted, Chicago kind of did that, but they also put money into D2, which is where I think they made the best choice and why they were so dominant for all those years. They had 2 for top defensemen and a few really, really good depth defensemen to go along with their top forward core, and they didn't just put all their money into their forwards. Now they're starting to struggle because they put money into everything. They put too much money into 4 or 5 guys, which I think was a bad decision. But for the 4 or 5 years that they were really good, it was a great decision. But I think that paying your top 2 centers more than $10 million and having a couple wingers making almost 9 and all this, I think having your top 6 completely dominate your salary is just not – you're not going to win that way, I don't think. That's just my personal opinion, and a lot of people could totally say I'm an idiot, and that's fine. I am sometimes on a lot of things. But I just don't think that you can score 8 goals all you want if you have a team like that. But once you get to the playoffs, when teams actually start, the defense comes out, you ain't scoring 8 goals no more. And if you can't stop the 6 goals that you're letting in as when you're scoring the 8 goals, you're in real trouble. You're in real trouble.
I think that's where the Leafs are in the situation right now, where Tyson Barrie, is he really going to help them in the playoffs with his offensive style, with them already having problems on the defense? They already have enough offensive D on that team. And
I'll tell you what, they made a lot of good moves, Tavares and Marner and Nylander. In my opinion, best moves Toronto's made over the last probably 4 or 5 years was signing Jake Muzzin, or trading for Jake Muzzin and re-signing him now. I think Jake Muzzin is a heck of a defenseman. He can play offense, but he's also a defensive-minded guy too. I think you need more guys like that. You need more of those guys. You need not even two-way. You can have an offensive guy, but you got to have a guy who can skate fast enough to get back. Here's the thing with Barrie. And now, granted, I haven't seen enough of Barrie. I don't watch Toronto games. Eastern Conference is just, we don't get a whole lot of that down here, especially in the South. We don't get a whole lot of hockey, period. So you have to go out of your way, really, to find it. But from what I've seen of Tyson Barrie, it doesn't seem like he's one of those guys who is he's quick to get down the ice, but he ain't quick to get back up the ice. Play D.
Yeah, and something that Muzzin's good at that.
And in the playoffs, you've got to play D. You have got – that's why the playoffs are so – when goals are scored in the playoffs, it's a free – oh, my God, we scored a goal. Because goals are so hard to come by. And I feel like with a team like Toronto in the playoffs, goals would be easy to come by. It's not like they have other than Muzzin, who else is going to shut anybody down?
That's what I mean. Like
there's no one.
They'll be able to score goals, but they'll also be giving up goals.
Right, so, but like I'm saying, they can score goals in the regular season, but you cannot win playoff games 8-6. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It's just it's hard because of their cap situation, and with Barrie being a UFA, and them trying to go for it. There's just so many factors with Toronto right now that it makes it really hard for a Barrie trade to work, where they somehow get better or get assets so they can move on the same day for a defenseman that's gonna trading for Vatanen. Really, I mean, if you trade out Barrie and get Vatanen, I really don't see the point in that for the Leafs. From the Leafs' perspective, they need like a stable two-way defenseman, or like you said, a defenseman that's able to get back. But it's just, they're in a very tough situation with what they've been put in with their cap situation with all their top forwards. So if a trade's made, it's definitely gonna take some digging to make it work for them to get somebody back that can still help them for their playoff run.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm trying, and there's really nothing else going on right now that I can see on.
Well, I just did read something about the Parise deal. Nothing new, obviously. Arthur Staple, who's the Isles writer for The Athletic, he not saying it's a done deal, and now that it's out, Lou Lamoriello may decide it's dead. But heard Parise has waived his no trade clause and is ready to go. He wants to join the Isles.
No move clause.
Yep. So obviously him and Suter both had no trade, no movement, no everything clause on that. That was a pretty locked down contracts. Which if you're signing for that long term, you don't want to sign with a team long term and then be able to trade you 2 years in, and then you're stuck with another team for 8 years. But so it looks like as though that could happen. And then Brian Burke, who just had a quote on Sportsnet, said, "I know Lou Lamoriello better than 95% of the people on the planet, which means I don't know him very well at all. He's silent in 7 languages." So we're dealing with Lou Lamoriello here, and that right there is that's enough of a mind screw dealing with Lou Lamoriello in general. So all this could be coming out, and then in 10 minutes it could be done. It could be a dead thing. So who knows? This deal is it's funny how a lot of guys are saying it's done. It's a done deal, but then nobody will fully say it's a done deal.
No, because there's so much to do. Like there's a lot going on with the cap situations there. And
that's a trade that's going to take some time, no doubt about that.
If it does happen today, I could see it taking a while. And the funny thing is, Lamoriello being reunited with Parise from their days in New Jersey, that would be something. Something else that I have here, not trade, well, I guess it's trade related, but nothing new, but it's confirmed that Patrick Marleau will wear number 12 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Dominic Simone offered up his number to the storied veteran and will now wear number 18, according to the Pittsburgh Penguins on Twitter. So good for Dominic Simone giving up his number to Patrick Marleau out of respect. So there's that.
Which Pittsburgh's looking mighty good right now. If they can get healthy, keep Crosby healthy, keep Malkin healthy, keep all those guys healthy. Good Lord, they've got wingers in Gensel, Zucker, and now Marlowe. That's a pretty formidable winger.
Well, it is, but Gensel's out for the year, so.
Oh, he is.
Yep.
When did that happen? Did that happen earlier this year?
Yeah, that's why they went out and got Zucker, because Gensel's done for the season. So right now,
my bad, guys. I again, like I said, I do not follow the East as much as I do the West, so I did not know that.
Jake,
plus I haven't been playing fantasy hockey this year, so I really don't keep up with my injuries as much as I used to.
Jason Zucker's making 5.5, then Hornqvist at 5.3.
They got Horny. That's good. He's a good winger still.
Rust has been playing very well with Malkin this year. He's having a career season.
Yeah, Rust has been well too. Yeah.
And then obviously getting Marlowe. I think that's a nice add for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maybe even try him with Sidney Crosby and see if that works. I could see.
Yeah, I would say Marlowe is probably going to play with Crosby just because of the way they kind of play. But it could all be. Who knows?
Yep. I'm trying to look at some more rumors here and stuff that's going on. Take this guy with the most grain of salt that you can. It's Eklund says that the Bruins are going for Palmieri. Says that New Jersey will only trade him for a ransom. So they're not looking to actively move Palmieri, but if the Bruins are if they're that persuasive, then they could probably.
Here's the problem: if it's for a ransom, what really does Boston have that's going to be worth a ransom?
Well, let's look into Boston since we're talking about them. What they've got in the system right now is Trent Frederick is down there, Zachary Senshin, Jacob Zaboral, the former Ice Dog Jack Studnicka is one of their most highly coveted assets, which I think if I'm New Jersey, I'm definitely asking for Jack Studnicka back for Cal Palmieri. I know Boston does not want to trade Jack Studnicka. He's a very, very good player. But that's the price you pay if you want to get somebody that a team doesn't even want to trade. So
basically, Boston has got in their top 5 prospects, so it's John Beecher, Trent Frederick, Jakub Lauko, Jack Studnicka, and Urho Vakanainen, which is probably one of the weakest top 5 prospects in the league. I would put up that's pretty weak. But out of that, I mean, really, because I don't think Boston wants to get rid of Beecher, because isn't he a hometown guy?
John Beecher.
I want to say he's from around the Boston area, but I could be wrong on that too. I would want Trent Frederick. I think he's, he could turn out to be a Kessler type guy. Do I think he's gonna? I don't know. I think he's more of a third line type, center type guy. Studnicka would be one I'd be interested in for sure, but is Studnicka going to get you Palmieri?
I think it would if you added one more little piece. If I'm New Jersey, I would jump all over that. But again, like you said, they don't want to get rid of Palmieri. They're not.
They don't.
Here saying,
and Palmieri's still got. He's not old. He's like 27, 28. And
like you said, New Jersey needs a guy like that.
They need a top winger to play with Hughes. You just
now that you don't have Taylor Hall.
You don't have Taylor Hall. You're gonna. And Palmieri's the perfect guy to play with a guy like that. He's a two-way guy. Yeah, he can score, but he's also very defensive-minded. He can block shots. He can play penalty kill. He can go on your power play. He can do all sorts of things.
And if you're New Jersey, I mean, you already have 3 first-round picks this year. Like, realistically...
And you got a good prospect depth. It's not great. but it's not bad.
But Palmieri's a guy that in a couple years you're going to be looking to try to acquire back.
You're gonna want a guy like Palmieri.
Yeah, and if you get rid of him, I just think New Jersey has a lot of prospects at this point and a lot of draft picks. So, I mean, you can never have enough, but at the same time, would it just defeat the purpose for them to trade Palmieri at this point when, like we just stated, he's going to be a guy that they're going to be trading prospects or picks for in the next couple years when they become better?
I guess I was wrong. I guess Palmieri's 29, almost 30, and I definitely thought he was younger than that. Wow. But, the way hockey players are going, 35 is about where you start tapping out, especially unless you're a power forward, grinder, big guy, or defenseman. Defenseman will last longer, but most forwards are not going to be power forwards, especially. They're not going to. Once they hit 35, it's a downhill. But for a guy like Palmieri, or even before that, but for a guy like Palmieri, 35, he'd probably do, he'd still be probably a 50, 60-point guy through that. And who knows if when Hughes and them get better, he could turn into a 60, 70, 80-point guy. Who knows? So do you give up somebody like that for could be? No.
From their perspective, no. Because
unless you're getting Studnicka, a second Vakanainen, I just don't think I'd do it.
No.
And do you think? And I don't think Boston, if I'm them, am giving up. I've already given up my first. I don't think I'm going to give up my second round pick either.
They've already made two really nice trades, and our buddy Ragu here said that with the two Bruins trades today, they saved $3.2 million against the cap and add two roster players with term. So they saved $3.2 million. And they get two really nice players there in Ritchie and Kashe from Anaheim. I mean, do they really need to get Palmieri now at this point?
Oh, smokes. Turn it on.
All right, here we go. What do we got?
We thought it was Columbus. It's not. Edmonton has acquired Andreas Athanasiou from the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay, so Edmonton sneaks in here and that's why we don't break trades before they're official, because Athanasiou was apparently going to the Blue Jackets, but now he's going to be a member of the Edmonton Oilers, and wow. I mean, I know they don't want to break up McDavid and Draisaitl, but a 3-on-3 line with Athanasiou and McDavid on it, that might be the fastest.
That'd be the fastest line in the world.
that would be the fastest 3-on-3 line in hockey with those two up front. I mean, I know it's hard to break up Draisaitl, but I mean, he's fast, but Athanasiou is one of the top 5 skaters in the whole league. So Athanasiou and McDavid together, that would be really interesting. Do we have details on that trade?
No details yet. Literally just announced. Gord Miller announced it on Twitter. So
Gord Miller from TSN announces that one. There's another rumor as we're waiting for that one to come in. Kevin Kurtz covering the San Jose Sharks now for The Athletic. Dallas Stars are pushing hard for Joe Thornton, and Joe would be willing to go there, I'm told. Also hearing the Florida Panthers are interested, but might be a harder sell for Thornton. So reuniting Big Joe and Little Joe in Dallas.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could see Dallas with Little Joe being there. That I could completely see. I don't see Florida at all.
Especially,
I don't think they have a good enough team.
Like what? Are they gonna put Joe Thornton as second line center after they just traded Vincent Trocheck?
Yeah, I mean, that would be quite a drop off.
That would be awful.
Like I said earlier, I really thought, or maybe I didn't say it earlier. I really thought personally that Thornton would end up back in Boston. That was my personal thought. I really expected him to get traded to Boston and then kind of throw him into third line center type situation, power play guy, just for that depth and to have the veteran guy too, and to bring Thornton back to Boston. Obviously, that was, I thought, a big key to it. But I could see Dallas. I could see Colorado. I don't think he's going east personally. Thornton's always been a Western guy. I think he stays out west. And
again, he still isn't even completely sold about leaving San Jose, so it would have to be like the perfect
Well, it's got to be a team that's really can really make a run.
And I got two things. Chris Johnson from Sportsnet. Wayne Simmons waived a no-trade clause to go to Buffalo. When have you ever heard that? And Ken Holland brings another Red Wing in as Athanasiou goes to Edmonton from John Shannon, who's now reporting it. So the Red Wings and Oilers make another trade, which it seems like that's going to be... It seems like that's going to be a common occurrence. A common occurrence for the next little while is Yzerman and Ken Holland.
Now here's my thing. I will put money on it that Detroit is about to get a freaking haul. Because I don't think that Shanahan and all, or excuse me, not Shanahan.
Holland?
No, Detroit.
Yzerman.
I keep wanting to say Shanahan. I've always for years gotten those two mixed together.
You love the Shanahan plan, huh?
Yeah, I love them both so much.
Yeah.
No, I think he ain't giving up Andreas Athanasiou unless it's for a pretty darn good haul. Because he's an RFA. He's at least, locked down for at least 2 more years. So, it's a pretty, that's a big piece to trade to somebody like Edmonton. And with it being Holland, who knows Athanasiou, who drafted Athanasiou, he could have got quite a bit there. So I'll be interested to see when that comes out.
Patrick Marleau's favorite team growing up was the Pittsburgh Penguins. His wife has tweeted out a picture of young Patrick Marleau wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins shirt with looks like Mario Lemieux holding the Stanley Cup. So apparently...
Well, even more funny was he was drafted in Pittsburgh.
Yep, so he's got a lot of Pittsburgh ties, apparently. She says she has a lot more funny photos to prove that are yet to come. So apparently we'll not only be awaiting trades today, but we will be awaiting Patrick Marleau's wife tweeting out more pictures of young Patrick Marleau wearing Penguins gear. So I guess that's one thing to look forward to, I guess. The trade has been made official, by the way, by Buffalo and New Jersey. Both have tweeted about it. And 5th-round pick for Wayne Simmons. I'm not even going to say anything. I can't. Zach Bogosian will wear number 24 for the Tampa Bay Lightning if anybody gives 2 flying you-know-whats about that. Now I'm also getting NFL news, kind of. Ohio State defensive end Chase Young.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So there you go. For any of you football fans out there, Chase Young will not work out at this week's Combine. So there you go for that.
I think not surprising.
All right, guys, we're going to take our last commercial break on part 1 of today's show, and then we'll come back and wrap up the last half hour before we go off the air for our little break here. So we'll take our last commercial break as we wait for the Athanasiou details on the Under Review podcast here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network. Nestled in the heart of beautiful Ridgeway, Ontario, the Ridge Film House offers up films celebrating diversity, integrity, and pure entertainment. Join us for a quaint movie-going experience complete with an in-house bar, luxury seating, and carefully curated films. Join us for a cinematic experience that focuses on comfort and quality. Our films are carefully selected to fit our specific mandate, screening films that the larger cineplexes won't. Each month, our 10x15 screens show you the best in independent, foreign, classic, and second-run films. The Ridge Film House is also available for private screenings, parties, and festivals. Come and discover hidden gems or rediscover the classics one more time. Located at 320 Ridge Road in Ridgeway, www.ridgefilmhouse.com, or call 289-303-8367 for availability and showtimes. The Ridge Film House, a truly unique movie-going experience. J&L Flooring is a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride in providing elite customer service and support. They are a specialty flooring and decor boutique shop with a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety and truly unique selection of products. All their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced, so you can feel great about your flooring choices. Their goal as a local business is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity, offering unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team. They connect with their customers to simplify the process to make their life easier and to make their homes beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road, Niagara Falls, or find out more at jnlflooring.com. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 905-358-3299 J&L Flooring. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill is located on the top of Clifton Hill and just a 5-minute walk from the majestic Niagara Falls. It is conveniently nestled in the heart of the tourist district. A family-owned and operated business, the Spicy Olive opened its doors in 2003 and has since been established as an authentic and unique Italian restaurant and bar. Its rustic ambiance and time-worn finishing provide a warm and inviting dining experience. Offering an array of delicious dishes, they specialize in authentic Italian cuisine, homemade sauces, fresh ingredients, and consistently provide a strong foundation on which they build their menu. As night falls, the Spicy Olive shifts to a lively lounge where dancing, martinis, and live music come together to make a perfect evening. Let Spicy Olive host your next function, birthday, private event, bridal, or baby shower. For more than 15 years, they have served not only their dedicated locals, but customers from all over the world with authentic Italian food and only the best in live entertainment. Located at 5026 Center Street, just off the historic Clifton Hill in Niagara Falls. They're open daily at noon till 10 p.m. and till 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Call 905-371-2323 for reservations and special events. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill. You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network. All right, guys, we're back, and during the commercial break, we have the details. So here is the trade breaking news for Andreas Athanasiou. Very good trade for the Edmonton Oilers. 2 second-round draft picks is all they have to give up for Andreas Athanasiou.
So, I'm going to cut a promo here for all my wrestling fans for a second. How on earth do you only get a 5th for Wayne Simmons? You get a 4th for Derek Grant. And then you get 2 seconds for Athanasiou. That's it. Somebody want to explain that to me? Somebody, seriously, somebody out, please. What in the freaking hell is Yzerman thinking?
I want to know what the haul was coming back from Columbus. I look at Athanasiou. The guy is an RFA, still a very young player, one of the fastest skaters in the league. I think you could have got way more than 2 second-round picks for that guy, just saying.
I mean, you could have at least got a first. I'm absolutely mind-boggled.
Athanasiou's 25. He's making $3 million now. He's RFA at the end of the year. Detroit, I mean, they're stockpiling picks, but at the same time, oh man, I feel like, especially if you would have waited closer to the deadline, I think some team might have bit on Athanasiou a little bit more. I'm sure you can circle back around to Ken Holland in Edmonton, as he's your buddy, and you know, Yzerman and Ken Holland obviously have a great relationship. I'm sure the trade would probably still be there if they circled around back to it, but I can't believe that he goes for that. We were talking about consider getting like a Blake Coleman type haul for Athanasiou.
How you don't doesn't make sense to me. He's better than Blake Coleman. Now, Blake Coleman might technically have... He has more points because he's played all year. But he also... this is just unreal to me. Unreal. I just don't... I really thought the prices for today were going to be outrageous. And then some of them you're like, oh yeah, that's a hefty price. But it doesn't make sense how a price tag goes down at the deadline. It should go up. How does it go from Blake Coleman for basically 2 first-round picks, with Nolan Foote in it too, to trade Athanasiou, who can play center too, which makes him more valuable, for 2 seconds?
Again,
don't get it.
He's got 10 goals on the year, 14 assists. He's a minus 45, which leads the Masters. But again, just because he's having a down year,
a bunch of dust, that happens. I'll get that.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, Larkin and Mantha. I mean, you're looking at Detroit, and
God, can you imagine being Dylan Larkin right now? Oh my God, you must feel like the lonely prick at the wedding.
Good analogy, but I think that's a great trade for the Edmonton Oilers. He's definitely going to add a lot to their winger depth. Playing with somebody like McDavid or Draisaitl. I know he's playing with McDavid a lot, but even a Nugent Hopkins on the second line I think would be a nice fit for a guy like Andreas Athanasiou. No word yet on where he's going to play, but...
Well, they just put it up on Sportsnet. It looks like he's going to be, the way they're projecting it, is that he's going to play on the first line with McDavid and Chiasson on the wing.
Well, trying to get this stuff loaded up here.
But... I'm just still can't get over this right now. New Jersey can only get a fifth for Wayne Simmons. Now I get it. Not like he was great. But I'm just flabbergasted. How you... There, okay. Only thing I can think of. Yzerman worked and played for Holland. Holland helped make Yzerman's career. Maybe he's helping him out. But why the hell would you help somebody out playing for another team? Or coaching or GMing or working for another team? No! No! Unless they help you, you don't help them. This isn't about personal helping. This is your team's. Oh, my God. I'm just... you know what? It's like I was talking to you during the break about how I try to sit here to do stuff for Botterill, try to, to get you again off that ledge. I don't know if now, I'm sure if he'd have called Detroit 2 weeks ago, it would have been a first and a third and 4 prospects. But I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm just completely I don't get it. I'm out of words. That's why I keep saying the same thing over again.
You're out of words.
I don't understand.
Oh boy. Today
I mean, what's
these
next?
prices
Is Taylor Hall going to get traded for a third?
I mean, I'll take that. I mean,
seriously.
I don't even think Botterill would take that at this point. I'd be like, nah, it's too steep.
Completely razzed over that one. Oh my God.
So for anybody that's listening out there in our fantasy league, I just picked up Andreas Athanasiou. So if you're thinking about it, it's already done.
Wow, that was quick.
Yep.
Wow, that was quick.
Right when you said that they showed on Sportsnet he's playing with McDavid and Chiasson. I went to the Yahoo fantasy page quicker than anybody has ever done in their life. So
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
For anybody that cares, Chris Kreider is dealing with an illness, so he's day to day after signing his 7-year extension. Hopefully, he doesn't not have the coronavirus. Wouldn't that be funny if the Rangers sign him to like that long-term deal and then he comes down with the coronavirus or something that?
I don't think it'd be funny.
No, I'm just
That's
come
not
on,
very
come
funny,
on,
but-
come on.
I'm just kidding. Yes,
You gotta have some comedic relief once in a
suck.
while.
That would suck.
That would be Buffalo's luck, trade for a guy and he gets coronavirus or something like that. But hopefully Wayne Simmons is all right.
Wow.
At this point, Wayne Simmons is going to be probably second line right winger at this point for the Sabres. Not a good look. Not a good look. And Athanasiou goes for 2 seconds. I mean, does that not entitle? I mean, I know the Sabres don't have. I mean, they have a second, but they don't have any extra seconds.
And what sucks even more is as these trades that are really good trades, it looks like right now, continue to go, the price goes up closer to deadline. Well, I thought that too earlier, so maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to go down. Maybe next thing you're going to see is freaking Palmieri traded for 2/4. So I don't. This is making no sense to me today. Today has been one of the most topsy-turvy trade deadlines I have seen in a very long time.
I feel like Well, especially leading up. I mean, the prices that teams paid for Blake Coleman, and then guys like Athanasiou are going for 2 seconds. I know Blake Coleman's on pace for 30 goals this year, but
right. And I get, and I'm sure a lot of teams were like, well, yeah, he was minus 43. He's minus 43.
But again, like you just said,
Detroit defense and goaltending, that's why he's minus 43.
I mean, as much as plus minus is an individual stat, it's also a team stat. I mean, realistically, if you're on Detroit, nobody's going to be a plus on that team. Like, no matter how good you are, even the Larkins and the Manthas of the world, and if they are, it's very slim that they're going to be a plus.
I'm just, wow. Anthony had 54 points last year, had 30 goals. And he's an RFA, so realistically means you can sign him from anywhere from a year to probably 3. That's my guess. I mean, you could sign him for more, but I doubt you do. Blake Coleman just came out of nowhere this year, didn't he?
No, he had a good season with New Jersey last year.
He had a good season before that. Yeah, okay, you're right. But I'm sorry. You give up Nolan Foote, who is a first-round draft prospect, and a first-round pick for a guy who just the last 2 seasons has scored close to 30 goals. And then you got a guy who is proven that he could score 30 goals. I'm just... Logic is out the window here.
Blake Coleman, he's on a very good team-friendly contract, and Tampa's going for it, so I can see why they did it.
I get that. Less than $2 million? Hell yeah, I get that. And for Tampa Bay, that was why they gave up so much, was because they need cap-friendly deals, and a deal like that, a guy who's close to 30 goals for less than $2 million, that's a steal and a half. But for what you gave up, to me, wasn't that big of a steal. Now, granted, Athanasiou is probably going to ask for somewhere in the $3 to $4 million range, but Edmonton's got the money. So what do they care?
Especially if it works out with McDavid and Athanasiou, man, that could be really dynamic.
If that clicks, because let's face it, part of the problem with Connor is he has not had people that can keep with him.
Draisaitl's been the only one.
That's what I'm saying. So, oh my gosh, if Athanasiou keeps up with him, those two are going to fly past every defenseman in the league. There's going to be 2-on-1s, 2-on-0s, 3-on-1s for days.
That's what I mean. Like, I understand there's no 3-on-3 and overtime in the playoffs, but for the regular season, that you put that line out there, yikes.
It looks like there were 2 other pieces involved in that trade, too. Sam Gagner's going to Detroit. And Edmonton gets Ryan Kuffner as well. I don't know who the hell that is, but
Sam Gagner.
So Sam Gagner is going back to Detroit, which I'm sure Detroit was like, we just need some guys who can play for us the rest of the year. We need a body. We need a freaking warm body.
Poor Sam Gagner.
Because I'm sure they don't want to bring up guys from Grand Rapids, because why would you want to put them into that freaking scenario?
Poor Sam Gagner goes back to Edmonton, the feel-good story, finally back with the Oilers, and then gets shipped out to Detroit.
Wow. This has been an absolutely wild day.
Especially with all the early stuff that we got. I just can't believe that.
Which doesn't happen. That's why we woke up this morning, we were both like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And then because we were both expecting yesterday to be on here thinking, oh gosh, this is going to just drag on, I bet. And it's been a pretty, I'm very, very, I mean, it's good for us. Don't get me wrong. It's good for the league. It's good for all that. I can't believe some of the deals have been overpayments and some of the deals have been complete underpayments. This is one of the, I haven't seen a day like this where there's so much discrepancy between what people are getting.
No, it has been interesting. One small note here. Actually, it's not. Well, I was gonna make a David Ayers joke that he's still available, but I actually have something intriguing here from Pierre LeBrun of TSN. Hearing that the Rangers and Hurricanes have been talking about a potential Brady Shea trade, but right now Carolina has cap issues, so not clear where this goes.
Yeah, and I heard also too earlier Carolina was talking to Chicago about Leonard and Gustafson. Yeah, apparently that has fell through too. So Carolina now obviously is looking for goalie. which I think a lot of people in Nashville were a little bit worried about at first, initially, about maybe Pekka going there because it's not very far from Nashville, a team that could be in, a pretty good team postseason chance. So it could have been one of those things where Pekka could have been sent to, but obviously now that's probably not going to happen. But what a day. What a weird day.
Elliot Friedman from TSN 13 seconds ago. It sounds like both Parise and Ladd have waived their respective clauses. Now it's a matter of putting together the complicated deal. So again, it's going to take some time.
And it also looks like I just got a text. Tyson Barrie has left Toronto practice.
Ooh, intriguing.
Now, again, that could mean a whole lot, and that could mean absolutely nothing.
It could mean that he had an early dinner or early lunch reservation.
It could mean he just, just getting off the ice early,
Yeah. So, yeah, Sam Gagner is going back the other way, as you were reported for Detroit.
But it's a 2020 and a 2021 second. So you didn't even have to give up 2 seconds in this season. Did you trade it for, let's say you got another second round pick. It's the second next year.
I really want to know what this rumored Columbus deal was, and if it was going to be better than that, or if Holland.
If it was
and
Josh
Yzerman made a
Anderson for
discount.
Athanasiou straight up, that's better than 2 seconds.
Yeah, I do think that Holland and Yzerman cut each other some slack on that. Obviously, more than what Keegan would have gotten from Yzerman. But again, for a guy like Athanasiou, I'm sorry, you got to get more value than that.
That to me is one of the best trades at a trade deadline I've seen in quite a minute. And it's one of those that it's a phrase that I like so much because I love these types of deals. It's a low risk, high reward trade for Edmonton.
That's the thing that makes me not like it even more from Detroit's perspective, because what if Athanasiou takes off with McDavid here and becomes...
And he's only 25.
And those guys...
He's 10 more years.
And those guys become a dynamic duo as far as their speed and become one of the most formidable 3-on-3 lines in all of hockey. Probably the best if it works out. Mm-hmm. I look at the potential that's there with Athanasiou and McDavid, and if I'm Yzerman, I'm thinking like, hey, you put these two guys together, this is going to be worth way more than 2 seconds. I need a little bit more than this with the potential that you're putting them with the best player in the world and the fastest skater in the world.
I keep going back to it. It's just a very weird trade in my eyes.
Apparently, the Sabres broadcast over on WGR, they're gonna have a breakdown if Ristolainen is not dealt. But again, I only want to do that if the right trade. And it seems like people are willing to deal today. People are willing to listen for the right trade. So
yeah, but do you want to trade Risto for 2 seconds?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, it looks like that's the way prices are going. I don't look if prices are this low right now, I'm not being a seller. I am holding my stuff till the draft, unless it's a UFA. And I know he ain't coming back.
Edmonton will retain 10% of Sam Gagner's contract if anybody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
10%.
That's literally like a freaking penny. That's $10 to me and you.
Is Edmonton really that handcuffed for cap right now? I guess they are. They currently have $520,000 in cap. So yeah.
What?
Yep. So I guess it was.
Who are they? Oh well, you know what? They do have a backup goalie who's making like $4 million.
McDavid.
Chiarelli was the dumbest GM I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm sure
he ruined that team.
McDavid's making 12.5, which is a steal, obviously, for best player in the world. Draisaitl's making 8.5, which is another steal for the next 4 years the way he's been playing. Mm-hmm. Nugent Hopkins making 6 for one more year. She is on 2.1 for one more year. Cassian getting that 3-year extension after this year. He's making 1.9. I'll go up to 3.2 after this year. KR at 1.2. Other than that, big salary guys. Adam Larson's getting 4.1 for one more year after this year. Darnell Nurse, his 2-year extension kicks in after this year, making 5.6. Mike Green is a UFA making 2.6, and then Mikko Koskinen's making 4.5, and Mike Smith's making $2 million.
Now hear me out here. With Athanasiou being traded here, during the offseason, I wouldn't do it now. During the offseason, I would trade Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
You think Athanasiou could be a second-line center for them?
No, but I think that Draisaitl's their second-line center the way they've been doing it, and I think you need to go. If Athanasiou you think is going to be the guy to play with McDavid, you need somebody to play with Draisaitl, and I just think Nugent-Hopkins, they keep trying to put him at winger, and I just don't think that's a spot for him. So I think and people are going to be looking for those centers. He's only making 6, which isn't terrible for the way second-line centers are going to cost you these days. You trade him for a top winger and a prospect or something, yeah, that's a good deal.
The other players that they're paying, James Neal's making 5.7 for the next 3 years after this year. And
they'll probably buy him out after this year, though.
And Oscar Klefbom's making 4.1 for 3 more years. So they do have a lot of money tied in. Long-term IR, they've got Chris Russell at $4 million for 1 more year. And they've got Lucic on a retained salary at $750,000 for 3 more years after this year. So there's stuff there. They got a couple lower end buyouts as well. Andre Sekera 2.5 for the next 2 more years, then 1.5,
wow.
And then Benoit Pouliot at 1.3, and Eric Greiba at $300,000. Your boy. But
yeah, I mean they've got
Edmonton's
some
got
problems, but again, buyouts and stuff like that will certainly cure a lot of that problems.
Or just dump on Arizona like everybody else likes to do. It seems like
there's also that possibility too.
Detroit might be the new Arizona as far as dumping contracts. From Darren Dreger, sounds like a first-round pick in the discussions for Shea. However, again, like Pierre LeBrun tweeted, the cap issues for the Hurricanes are complicating things. So they'd like to acquire Brady Shea, but
out to go look at Carolina's cap situation. Where are they?
I'm looking at it right now. They've got $593,000 in cap, so not a lot.
So how much does Shea make? About 4 or 5?
The Rangers. Brady Shea currently makes 5.25 for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I'm telling them, you take Ryan Dzingel back, we'll give you the first. You give us Brady Shea.
Yeah, I mean Dzingel would be a nice fit for the Rangers too. I think he'd be nice.
Maybe good little. I mean, if he's playing 4th line on Carolina, he can be 2nd line on New York.
I don't know about that.
Probably 3rd, maybe.
The Rangers do have a pretty good top 2 lines. Their bottom 6 is meh, but
still, I mean, because I don't think Dzingel's gonna, it's not somebody I would necessarily want to keep around, especially for $3 million anyway. But I know they just signed him last year. Well, yeah, but
he'd be a nice fit for the Rangers. I'd like Dzingel as a depth winger for them if that's the piece that they have to take back. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world getting a first-round pick for Brady Shea.
No.
On Carolina, not.
Now I don't now if that was the case though, I'm guessing it would probably need more. If they're going to take some salary back, New York, I mean, or a player back like Dzingel, I'm guessing you'd probably have to toss in a 3rd or a 4th with it too. That'd be my guess, because I don't think Brady Shea's a good defenseman. He's top 2 defenseman, so those don't come cheap. That's for damn sure.
He's making 5.2 for the next 4 years. He's 25 years old. He's a right shot,
and he's locked up for his early prime years. Not a super high price. So, if I'm Carolina, I'd certainly think about doing something along those lines.
Yeah, it's funny that Carolina is trying to acquire a D, because remember during the summertime last year they were looking to dump defensemen, and they ended up trading Justin Falk because they had too many defensemen, and now they're looking to acquire a defenseman because now they've got Slavin's making 5.3, Jake Gardner's making 4 for the next 3 more years after this year.
I didn't think that was a good signing.
Brett Pesce's making 4. He's a solid player. He's only 25 for the next 4 years. And then Edmonton's a free agent. Trevor Van Riemsdyk's a free agent. Hayden Fleury's an RFA. And then, obviously, Dougie Hamilton's hurt. He's got 1 more year at 5.7, who was having a career year. Shout out former Ice Dog there. But
I just think it's funny they you trade Justin Falk, and I get it, because Falk was making, he was the UFA, and he was going to make quite a bit of money. And, that's the reason you wanted to get him out. But it is pretty funny how these guys trade these players, and then eventually they'll come back, or they'll be back to needing that player a year or two down the road.
Yeah.
And then you're basically trading up more than likely more than what you got back to get a guy who probably wasn't even as good. But then again, Brady Shea and Folk, that would be one of those ones where it might be a toss-up for me between those two. So,
not seeing anything else here right now as far as rumors or anything coming in. Still waiting for, I guess this Athanasiou trade is completely official. I'm waiting for word on that prospect that they got as well. Detroit.
From who?
That prospect that Detroit got from Edmonton.
It's Ryan Kuffner.
Ryan Kuffner. Let me look this guy up. Ryan Kuffner. Okay, here he is. Ryan Kuffner. He's 23 years old. Trying to click on his elite prospects here.
Did read something just now. Bruins out on Palmieri, more than likely. Still looking at Thornton, but could be a little more difficult than originally thought.
Yeah, I mean he has to want to waive his he has to want to go somewhere, and if his heart isn't in going somewhere, then he's just going to stay in San Jose for the rest of the year. It's just the way that Thornton is. He's loyal. He's not just going to go somewhere for the sake of going. He wants to. He would have to really want to be invested in that team to want to go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if that's it for him. Ryan Kuffner is 23 years old. He has his cap hits $900,000 on the entry level deal. He's a left winger for the Grand Rapids Griffins this year. He's played 32 games and has 9 points on the season. So
just to also what we were talking about earlier about Carolina's how much they have left. So the way that it's projected cap space is for this year. They have $593,000 in cap space for this year, which means they can take a player of a cap hit of up to $2.69 million.
Right. If they have a
because that's how much you're paying them for the rest of the year. So it's basic. So they have more money than originally thought, but it would still take trading somebody along the lines of like a Zingle or one of the other maybe Van Riemsdyk, maybe somebody like that to take some money off to make that happen on the Carolina front.
Princeton University is where Ryan Kuffner played his NCAA career. 31 games played in his last year, and he had 44 points. So it's his first year playing in the AHL. He's only got 9 points in 32 games, but you never know. He could end up turning into something for Bakersfield or even Edmonton at this point. But
yeah, anything's possible. And also, Islanders have signed J.G. Pageau to a 6-year contract.
Wow. See, what do you think about these guys that before they even play a game with this new team sign extensions?
I don't agree with that. Unless it's somebody that you know damn well ain't going to take the trade unless they take an extension beforehand. I need to see them play first.
Or the player, too. Like, how do you know that you want to be there when you haven't even played a game there or been there for a day? Like, I just don't.
I've always wondered why players wouldn't. Even if you want to stay with the team that you're with, why you wouldn't at least go to free agency just to see what's out there. I mean, why would you not? What's it going to hurt? Even if you want to go back, you go back. You just tell the team up front, I'm going to give you the last. I mean, granted, last time that happened, Ryan Suter told us, I'll give you the last shot, and then he was gone. But which I understand why GMs don't want to do it because then they're afraid they're going to lose them. But if I'm a player, every time I'm up for free agency, I'm going to go to free agency.
Or especially not sign an extension with a team that I've never
played for, never lived in the city.
Not even bit. Well, I mean, I guess you've been there as an away player, but realistically,
you never
how much
there.
time have you had there?
I was gonna say, but even as a player coming in on an away team, you're at the hotel, and you can go within walking distance of your hotel, basically. But outside of that, there's not really, you can't really. There's not enough time or stuff to go and travel and look and see and do. And you're on the bus, you're in the hotel, you're back on the bus, you're at the arena, you're back in the bus, you're at the hotel. I mean, that's it most of the time.
I do
Unless
want
the guys want to walk around in the downtown area.
Yeah, but again, to say you're going to sign a 6 or 7 year extension just like that with a team that you've never, in a city that you've never really been accustomed to, it's crazy to me how these guys are willing to do that, especially when they're going to become free agents in less than 3 months here, so or around 3 months.
And I mean, what if you get there, you sign the 6-year extension, you start playing with the Islanders, and you realize I hate everybody on this damn team.
Yep.
Every one of them, I hate them.
Then Ottawa will trade back for you. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're an even harder commodity to trade because you're making more money and you got a long-term contract. A.E. Kyle Turris.
Another former Ottawa Senator. Another nice comparison there. I just found this tweet. Don't let the NHL trade deadline distract you from the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs lost to a team playing with a 42-year-old Zamboni driver at goalie. Ty, as a goalie, real quick, since we really have nothing else to talk about, what did you think of the whole David Ayres story and him coming in? As a former Zamboni driver yourself, how proud were you?
It's pretty funny. He literally was in the position that I was in for a year, so it's pretty funny. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Obviously, I've tried to get weasel my way into being the emergency backup goalie for the Predators before. Just so I can get free tickets, because Lord knows they wouldn't want me to play no damn games. But I thought it was absolutely amazing. I actually used to not know the guy, but he was in there's a big Facebook group, or it's more of just a kind of like a cult, the Goalie Gear Sluts United, and I was a big part of that for a little while, and was talking to a lot of those guys. Obviously, a lot of guys up there will know. Oh, Lord. Now I'm forgetting his name. Plays for the Solar Bears in Toronto. Who's that goalie, Brandon? God dang it.
What goalie?
The one that played for the Solar Bears for Toronto. Garrett Sparks. He's a big...
He's a big what? I think Ty's mic died, so... we'll just wait for him to come back to finish up that final thought, and then we'll be taking our break here. I think we've decided that we're going to take an hour break and come back with you guys for around 3 o'clock Eastern time. We'll let the trades roll in, and hopefully we'll have something to talk to you guys about for the last 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so of the show. Ty, you back now?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So go ahead and finish your thought about.
But what I was just gonna say was, it's just really awesome. Just seeing a guy like that. It's one thing to be on the bench and sitting there. That's cool enough, and to have an NHL contract and a jersey and everything. But to be able to go in and play, and I'm sure he was shitting bricks when he was told to go play, because I would be. You're no matter how much preparing you do, you ain't prepared for that. And then especially coming out of the stands cold, not really any warm up. Oh, I would have been scared out of my mind. So to me, it's just such a cool thing, and even cooler that he's sitting there wearing the Marley's mask and he's playing. I honestly, and a lot of Maple Leafs fans aren't going to take this too well. I personally think that the Maple Leafs were taking it easy on him, because I've coached before, and if I've got a goalie coming out, hadn't had a bit of warm up, I'm telling my team, I want all 5 of you to go down. I want one of you in front of that net, and all of you to take shots. I mean, 50 freaking shots, and move him side to side, because he's going to get tired. He's 42 years old. He just came out of the stands. Come on.
They scored 2 from their first 2 shots, and then they had 6 shots in the third period total.
Exactly. How do you have 6 shots on a 42-year-old goalie in third period? Now, I'm not saying Carolina didn't play good. They did. And they knew what they were doing. They shut it down for him. They shut it down. But if I'm Keefe, oh God, guys, go down, and I'm 80 shots. It doesn't have to be good shots. It's a beer league goalie.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was an incredible situation, and I'm really happy for him. I know the guy who does it for Nashville too. All those guys are really good people, and they're goalies who just they never. It's not even that they may not have had the talent, they may not have had the opportunity, they may not have had the money to do certain things, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it's a really cool thing for these guys that basically, like me, who beer league for life, you never think you're going to go anywhere else, and then you get something like that. I mean, that's just an unbelievable situation.
Yep, it was a great story, and it's rocked the hockey world. I believe he's going to Raleigh for their game on Tuesday. And they're going to be honoring him, and they're selling his T-shirts now. So maybe they should give him some.
That's pretty cool. I'm sure he'll get some money. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Yeah, but I think it's cool too that he the next day was practicing with the Marlies. It's pretty funny to just. And what's even funnier is one of the other goalies that played for Toronto sold him. I guess he was a minor league goalie for the Marlies. He sold him his pads or gave him his old pads, and that's the pads he was wearing. So he was tweeting about, my old pads look really good out there. It's just pretty funny. All these guys, the goalie gear page, everybody was trading gear and selling gear. So, we all have gear from all these people. I've got some Pekka stuff and different things. I mean, everybody's got some pro stock gear from all these guys. So it's just really cool to see all this coming out into a national platform.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of the best hockey stories I've seen in the last few years, especially for him getting the win in Toronto, being the Marlies practice and Leafs emergency goalie. So it was pretty incredible.
I'll tell you what, if I was Toronto too, I'd be like, hey, we pay you. You better let in 2 or 3 goals or you're not going to have a job on Monday.
So I guess
you're fighting for a playoff life here. If I'm Dubas, I'm tired. He is fired on Monday if we lose this damn game.
I got some news on the Pajot, the cap hit for Pajot.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen financials yet.
The cap hit, and I just lost it. $5 million.
Wow, that's it. Okay, not bad.
$5 million for Pajot, 6 years.
Another trade too, not a big one. I don't think you need the thing for it. Derek Forbort to Calgary.
Yeah, 1 minute ago from Elliot Friedman. Derek Forbort, the defenseman, I believe formerly of the LA Kings. Was Derek Forbort.
Yep.
More news from Bob McKenzie on the Pajot deal. Full no-trade clause for the first 2 seasons, partial no-trade clause beyond that. So it's become pretty standard.
Kind of the way they go. Yeah, it's pretty standard at this point. Once you get to about 27, 28, you start signing those limited no-trade clause contracts. So
interesting stuff on this. People were going nuts apparently on Johnny Gaudreau leaving practice.
Yeah, he said he just had to pee.
Yeah, so there's that. Johnny Gaudreau taking a pee has been one of the most exciting things that's happened on Trade Center today. But guys, it's just about to hit 2:00 p.m. Eastern time, so we're gonna take our little break here and come back with you guys. Like I was saying while you're fixing your mic there. We were gonna take a half-hour break. We're gonna take an hour break and come back when the deadline actually happens at 3:00 Eastern time, because that's when we'll start seeing the log jam of trades happen, and they'll be trickling in near the end of after 3:00. We always see trades come in for about an hour or so after that. So we're gonna take an hour break here. Hopefully you guys take a little break too, and we'll come back with part 2 of our under review podcast and our NHL Trade Deadline all day special. So we'll be right back. We'll be back here at 3:00 Eastern time for you for part 2 of today's episode, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Cappy and Ty with you here all day covering the NHL Trade Deadline. So we'll see you guys in a little bit.